everybody. Welcome. This is Neil with Portal to Ascension. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Hope you're having a beautiful day. And we're going to have some amazing information and a great webinar for you today with Billy Carson. If you have not heard of us or myself, I am Neil again with Portal to Ascension, and we are a one-stop shop for all things consciousness. We are an event production company, been creating events for over 11 years now on different topics. And today you are a part of our webinar university, in which we do a webinar once a week with different presenters on a range of topics. We just did one, a live event yesterday with Emery Smith. We just got off a tour with Michael Tellinger. So we're producing around 100 plus events a year on all topics that we can think of that really can empower people to create this new world that is now emerging with all this information that is being disclosed. So today we're going to have a webinar with Billy Carson. And a little bit about Billy. He is the author of the Compendium of the Emerald Tablets, and is also an expert host on the new original streaming series by Gaia named Deep Space. The series is an exploration of the secret space program and the types of technologies being used and their potential origins. He has combined forces with top anomaly hunters in the world from United Family of Anomaly Hunters. Their mission is to provide enough evidence of past and present life on Earth and other celestial bodies inside our own solar system of technologies being used along with their potential origins. The group claims to have pioneered two new fields of science, archaeoastronomy and astroanthropology. He also feels that these will be actual college courses in the not so distant future, and I completely agree with that. Billy Carson is also the CEO of First Class Space Agency based in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And Carson Space Agency is involved in research and development of alternative propulsion systems and zero-point devices. Billy Carson is the founder of the Pantheon Elite Records, where he has 5 conscious music artists, including himself. And Donnie Arcade, who I'm getting into recently, is one of them as well. And Carson is also a contributor to the Thrive Global and is a registered international journalist. So Billy has his hands in a lot of things and is really doing what he can to bring forward a lot of information, but also try to bring forward technologies and research that will change the world to come and allow us to live in more harmony with the planet. So let's go ahead and bring Billy on. You there, brother?
Yes, I'm here. I am here. Thank you very much for that fantastic introduction.
Thank you, man. Go ahead and take it away.
Absolutely. I'm really looking forward to doing this. I'm going to share my screen now. Make sure I got this right. And I want to thank everyone, first of all, for taking time out this afternoon. This is a beautiful Saturday afternoon. You can be anywhere doing anything, but you're here trying to gain information, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. One of the things that I've really dedicated my life to is understanding that sometimes gaining knowledge requires sacrifice. So today, the sacrifice for some of us is going to be a couple of hours out of our day when we can be hanging out, going to a party, spending time with friends and family. We're taking just a little bit of time out of a 24-hour day to try to advance ourselves consciously and get to the next level. So I'm really excited about this. As he said, I am the author of the Compendium of the Emerald Tablets. That's what you see on your screen right now. And this book is an Amazon bestseller. That's why I'm showing it. I wrote the book, but it's got fantastic quotes from Eric Von Daniken, Jimmy Church, George Norrie, Donnie Arcade, Lizzie Gold, my MIT professor, Dr. Tara Swart, and just many, many others. And it's been not only bought by, just a lot of people, but also a lot of people that we would consider to be quote unquote celebrities have also purchased this book and came back with a lot of positive feedback. So it's telling me that we're starting to reach into other areas where we normally don't reach consciously, into a lot of areas in music and entertainment that for whatever reason, people in those industries kind of pull back on this kind of knowledge and information. But now it seems as if they're actually reaching out for it and embracing it, which is great. So we're making progress, guys, all around the world, which is one of the reasons why I started my space agency. The space agency is not so that I can work for NASA and all this crazy stuff you see online. It's so that I can utilize grant money and funding to develop zero-point energy devices to help people on this planet, so that I can develop perpetual motion generators to help people on this planet, so that I can also help develop different types of propulsion systems that can help us as a future humanity as we explore outer space and as we take back our rightful place, our birthright in space, which is 50, 100 years from now till we get back to that level, trying to help take this planet back into what we call a type 1 civilization. Right now, we're a type 0 civilization. A lot of these things that I'm telling you right now were all inspired by Thoth the Atlantean, which is one of the main reasons why I wrote this book. It really goes in depth into a lot of these different technologies and these different aspects of consciousness to help mankind raise himself back to a high level of civilization. So let's see how we scroll to the next. The first thing I want to do real quickly is I want to talk about the Emerald Tablet, because the Book of Hermes, or the Book of Thoth, or the Hermetic Tablet, which there is actually one that has been translated by Sir Isaac Newton, which is actually in the Cambridge Library in England. A lot of people seem to, well, you know, these tablets, I mean, do they ever exist? What's the credibility of them? I just want to give you a brief summary, a little bit about these tablets and how these Hermetic Principles really originated. Not only did the Hermetic Principles originate from this gentleman named Thoth, and I don't call him a god or a deity. He's a person just like me and you, just much more spiritually advanced and technologically advanced as well. But these tablets, they break down these principles, which we're going to get into shortly, but also a lot of religions around the world, many different religions, took from these Hermetic Principles and created their system from it. You know, so they found a way to capture it, some of the essence of it, and turn it into a control system when it was really meant to be a system of freedom, to take the bondage away, unshackle people, unshackle your mind, and take yourself to the next level, even the next dimension. So I'm gonna read a little bit from this. This is actually in the book and also in the Emerald Tablets. The history of the Emerald Tablets is very strong and well documented. The original text is written in Thoth's Atlantean language. The version that I'll be referencing in this workshop is translated by Dr. Michael Doriel and can be found on crystallinks.com. A new translation has been recently published from the Arabic version of the Emerald Tablet and is called the Book of Causes, written by the famous Thomas Aquinas. So Thomas Aquinas was inspired by these Emerald Tablets, just like I was, to write a book. And his book is called the Book of Causes. Very good book, you should check it out. A translation by Sir Isaac Newton was found among his alchemical papers, currently housed in King's College Library at Cambridge University. Philip of Tripoli also translated the Emerald Tablets in 1240 AD. Also, a famous version called the Book of the Secret of Creation and the Art of Nature was written by him in 683 AD. So this goes way back, guys. He was also inspired by the Emerald Tablet to write a book as well. These are very famous people. These aren't people that you would just say, oh, you know, this average person that's just walking around the street. No, these are people, real scholars, real scholarly, affluent people. A famous author named Roger Bacon was accepted into Oxford University at the age of 13, also translated and wrote a version of the Emerald Tablets. He was an English philosopher and Franciscan friar who placed considerable emphasis on the study of nature through empirical methods. In the early modern era, he was regarded as a wizard and partly famed for his story of the mechanical necromantic brazen head that he built. He is sometimes credited since the 19th century as one of the earliest European advocates of the modern scientific method, and was inspired by Aristotle and later scholars, such as Arab scientist Al-Hazen. So we're talking about, you know, these are really important people in history that have accessed this information and was inspired to make and create works about them. So just to let you know, this is you know, real deep stuff. And this all goes back to, you probably heard me talk about before, the Annunaki. The Annunaki are the Atlanteans. Annunaki is a generalized term. People tend to think Annunaki means one specific race of people or beings. But Anunnaki is a generalized term for what a lot of the ancients talk about. If you go to every single religion around the planet, every single civilization around the planet, outside of even religion, as far back as you go, from cave paintings to baked stone tablets, to cylinder scrolls, to scriptures written on papyrus, everywhere you look around this entire planet, and trust me, I've been around this entire planet, you can see my pictures that I post all the time, there's always evidence of beings coming from another place to here to work, teach, and engage mankind. And these are the Anunnaki. There are many different races from many different places, many different planets. Not just one place, not just one planet, many different places. The thing is we look like them. We're the new kids on the block. Human beings on this planet are fairly new. Homo sapiens sapien, I should say, are fairly new. But let me just give you a breakdown of why I got into how I got into the Hermetic Principles is when I first started looking into the Emerald Tablets and reading them. And these first opening passages here just blew me away. Let me read this. We have evidence of a great flood. Over the world then broke the great waters, drowning and sinking, changing earth's balance, until only the temple of light was left. Standing on the great mountain of Undal, still rising out of the water, Some there were two living, saved from the rush of the fountains. So here we have evidence of an ancient flood, a global flood, written in the Emerald Tablet 36,000 years ago. Then he says, call to me the master, saying, gather ye together my people, take them by the arts ye have learned far across the waters, until ye reach the land of the hairy barbarians, dwelling in the caves of the desert. Follow there the plan that ye know of. So right here, his thought me, or his dad, really his Enki, is telling him he needs to get the people together that he's trained and worked with, and they have a mission and a goal to go across to where there's this area where the hairy barbarians live and help raise them back to a higher level of civilization. So he says, gather by then my people entered into the great ship of the master. Upward we rose into the morning. This is where it got me right away. When I said upward we rose, I knew he wasn't getting on a boat that sailed out into the ocean. He went onto a ship that went up into the sky. Darkness beneath us lay the temple. Suddenly over it rose the waters, vanished from earth. So now they've left the atmosphere. So they've literally gotten into a ship and gone out into space. Until the time appointed was the great temple. So now they've gotten to their coordinates and they've located where their landing spot's going to be. He says, fast we fled toward the sun of the morning until beneath us lay the land of the children of Chem. Now the children of Chem, this is where we get into where alchemy and chemistry come from. It comes from the land of Chem. Where's the land of Chem? The land of Chem is actually ancient Egypt, before it was called Egypt. Egypt is a fairly new name. The name of that area was called the land of Chem back in deep antiquity. And that's where he went to help restart civilization. Civilization actually initially, if you go into other tablets, you discover that civilization started in Iraq and Mesopotamia. Later on, after the Great Flood, because of the destruction that happened there, they moved all main base operations over to Egypt. I guess it was apparently seemed maybe a much easier place to redevelop and kickstart. Maybe there were more survivors in that area. So basically, he goes on to say that they say, camp you land the camp. So raging they came with cudgels and spears. So now he's landing in this ship and he opens the door, and these barbarians come to attack, seeking to slay and utterly destroy the sons of Atlantis. So he goes, I raised my staff and directed a ray of vibration, striking them still in their tracks as fragments of stone of the mountain. So now here we have more evidence of technology. He's got a stun ray back in ancient times that actually stuns these people and stops them from attacking. And I talk about this in the book because there's something we have now called the active denial system in the US military. And this active denial system uses a ray beam, an invisible ray beam, to send at a crowd of attackers or riders and get them to stop in their tracks and turn and flee the other way. So this is the things that I cover. When I call it a companion, it's because I'm breaking down the information for you. Long dwelt we in the land of Chem, long and yet long again, until obeying the commands of the master, who while sleeping yet lives eternally. And this is where it gets into the halls of Amenti, where they have these avatar bodies underneath the Great Pyramid, which I talked about in the book, that they've discovered hundreds of rooms underneath the Great Pyramid that extend about a mile out underneath the sand of Giza. And in these rooms, they have these halls of Amentis where they would put their avatar bodies in, and they would walk amongst men, but unlike men. So they would be in these avatar bodies, transferring their consciousness into other bodies, walking around, bodies that they made themselves, their own clones. It says in here in the actual tablets that they created their own bodies. So they've obviously taken, we can do that nowadays. We can take a stem cell from a person, put it into a laboratory condition, trigger it, and then create a complete clone of a person. And if you have enough storage space, which we now have, which we'll go over a little bit later, you can transfer your consciousness directly into that avatar body, and you can walk. And while that body's walking, they would have another body sleeping inside of these chambers, and that sleeping body would be regenerating. So they didn't have to make too many bodies all the time. They would regenerate one body and walk around in another. Amazing stuff. But ironically, we're doing that today with the 2045 project out of Russia, and also the DARPA project out of America, where we have the Avatar project, where we have soldiers in underground bunkers transferring their consciousness into field robots, so that they have a symbiotic relationship, and the consciousness of the soldier controls the field robot. And that way, if the field robot's killed or assassinated or whatever, destroyed, the soldier's still alive. So this is stuff that we're doing right now today. Look that up. That's real. That's what I cover in the book. This is real released information, declassified information that you can look up and find out. So what Thoth is saying 36,000 years ago, we're doing and duplicating right now today. Another important thing I want to talk about, because we have to establish how powerful and how knowledgeable these people were before I get into the principles, because I want you to know that this isn't just something that some philosopher just sat back and said, it would sound cool to talk about this stuff. I want you to know how advanced these people are. In the Emerald Tablet, Thoth says, I builded the Great Pyramid, patterned after the pyramid of Earth's force, burning eternally so that it too might remain through the ages. In it, I builded my knowledge of magic science. That translates into advanced technology, so that it might be here when I return from Amenti. While I sleep in the halls of Amenti, my soul roaming free will incarnate, dwell amongst men in this form or another. Hermes thrice born. You see, it's what I was talking about in having these avatar bodies. And when you look at the history of Thoth the Atlantean, you discover that he was many names over many eons. He's been Mercury, he's been Odin, of course, Thoth, Quetzalcoatl to the Mesoamericans. He's been Viracocha, Kukulkan, Tahuti in Africa. I mean, I could just go on. The names are just immense. We're talking about over thousands of years and different looks that he's had as well. He's always depicted with a beak, a bird's beak, but he doesn't look like a bird at all. He doesn't look like a bird. He doesn't have feathers. They gave him an ibis beak because it depicts something very important. An ibis bird has to put its beak deep into the mud to get sustenance. So it goes deep into the darkness to bring darkness to light, so that they can survive and eat. So what it's saying is that Thoth himself, he always goes into darkness. And when you read the Emerald Tablets, you discover this. He goes to places where mankind has fallen to a low level and helps bring them back to a high level. So he goes in deep to bring things back up. He goes into darkness to bring darkness to light. That's the symbolism of the ibis bird beak that you see on Thoth the Atlantean. It has nothing to do with him looking like a bird. He's not a bird. He's not a blue bird with feathers at all. He's actually a person. As a matter of fact, the original face of the Sphinx, which a lot of mainstream scientists are trying to say used to be a lion's face, it was never a lion's face. When you go into the Sumerian tablets, you discover it was actually his original face. But then much later, the face was recarved down to Marduk, who is also known as Amun-Ra, which is his brother. His brother took it and recarved it down to his son's face. So it's really his son's, it's really Thoth's nephew's face on the Sphinx now, which is why it's proportionate to the body size. But still, regardless, you can see what the people look like. Look at the face of the Sphinx, and I will tell you what they look like. Now, this video here, one of the things I've talked about, you've probably seen me, some of you may have seen me talking on Edge of Wonder and other interviews that I've done, where I talk about the Sphinx being 36,000 years old. And also, there's a very famous man, John Anthony West, who unfortunately passed away recently. I was really looking forward to going on his last Egypt tour with him. He didn't make it. I'll probably go with Robert Schock, his partner, who's still alive. He's a professor, an archaeologist, and a geologist. But I want to play this very, very short clip. Hopefully the sound works on this, because he has some very important things to say. And this is something that I really discovered that correlated with my research and really got me feeling like I was really on the right track. So I'm going to press play on this thing here.
Years, I think that's what it is. There is, at least in principle, a method of trying to settle this dating question, but my own view is that it's this older date, partly because the Egyptians themselves say that's where their civilization began, and then partly because of I think the very plausible suggestion that the Sphinx is meant as a marker of the age of Leo. Now, this is another hotbed of controversy, but there's a lot of reason to think that the ancients, very, very ancients, knew about the precession of the equinoxes and the shifts of ages, that goes, we're now the end of the age of Pisces and coming into the age of Aquarius. And there's plenty of good reason to think that this knowledge of precession goes back into deep, deep antiquity. So if the Sphinx is actually intended as a Leo marker, it only gives you a couple of choices, because the last age of Leo is around 10,000, 10,500 BC. This is the date chosen by Bauval and Hancock for dating the Sphinx, because everything else aligns. And then if you add to that the probability that the Sphinx is looking at its own image in the sky when it rises against the sun at the equinox, you've again got this 10,500 date. The problem with that date, as far as I'm concerned, is that in paleoclimatology, you know, and this is, nobody disagrees with this, that the whole Earth is in chaos at that time, following the breakup of the Ice Age, which happens around 12,000 BC for reasons no one is quite sure. Schock's written a very good book called Voices of the Rocks, where it's a kind of a state-of-the-art statement on catastrophe theory. So everybody knows that this catastrophe took place. No one's sure why. That's when all the woolly mammoths died and the woolly rhinoceroses, you know, all the mass extinctions, they're called the quaternary extinctions. All this took place. So, my way of thinking, building all of this incredible stuff requires a long settled and stable civilization. You don't just build things like this in the midst of a worldwide, global, chaotic situation where there are earthquakes all over the place and huge floods and everything's, you know, everything's unstuck. So, but nevertheless, the star alignments work for that 10,500 date. But because of these various, let's say, these mitigating factors, I don't like that date. But the only other choice is to push it back another full precessional cycle, which is effectively 26,000 years. That gives you 26,000, that gives you 36,000 BC, which corresponds to the Egyptian texts themselves. So even though it looks outrageous, particularly to an academic, to me, it's the more plausible of the possible scenarios, and it just remains to be seen, you know, if we're able to actually date this thing. The dating will probably remain conjecture until or unless we're able to put a date to it, or find somehow or another, if we get permission to come back here with seismographs and radar and stuff like that, and are again able to, you know, we find other artifacts underground and we're able to date those by stratification or by finding something that maybe can be carbon dated, who knows. There are a lot of possibilities for getting to a date. A lot of it really depending upon at least a few within the academic establishment saying, yeah, this stuff really has to be looked into. They're never going to say, yeah, we were wrong and you were right. But all I need is enough of a concession that say, this is interesting, let's put some time and effort into trying to get behind it. We'll see what happens.
The Age of Leo marks the beginning point of the vast celestial cycles known as the precession of the equinoxes. The Sphinx, as the marker of Leo, demonstrates a knowledge of complex celestial mechanics and the observation of phenomena spanning tens of thousands of years.
Okay, guys, so that was just a very short video that I found very interesting. It correlated a lot with a lot of my research over the years, and I talk about this many, many times, the fact that the alignment of the Leo, two previous precessional periods aligns with constellation of Leo. So we're talking about people that architect. We're talking about the Hermetic person, who, you know, he's also known as Hermes, that has architected these principles, but also was what they will call a master magician, which is really a person who understands the link between spirituality and physics. He's been able to combine the two. I talk about this a lot in the book. He's a master architect, and the reason why I say this is because no matter where you go on this planet Earth, you're going to find pyramid structures. You're going to find thousands of pyramid structures. Pyramids that haven't even been discovered yet. A lot of them are buried. If you go to Mexico, I went to Teotihuacan, Mexico, a couple of years ago, and every single hill, the archaeologists told, every hill in Mexico City is a pyramid where the top has been blown up and a church has been put on top. And we're talking, that was just hundreds just in that one city. Over the planet, we have all these pyramids, and the reason why is because the master architect himself, if you read the book, he sends people, his other people that came with him, his crew, around the planet to reproduce what he did in the land of Kim after the Great Flood. And this is why there's pyramid structures with their own special motif and their own little look and their own little twist. Overall, it's the same exact architect. And then when you look into some of the space probe data, you find these same architectural type structures across our solar system. The reason why is because the Atlantean civilization was not just a ring city. A lot of people are, oh, it's just a ring city that sunk. No, Atlantis is this entire planet. We're all standing and sitting on top of Atlantis right now. Not only was it a global civilization, now that I've studied a lot of the space data, it was an interplanetary civilization, and more data coming eventually in the future, I'm pretty sure will prove it was a intergalactic civilization as well. When you go into some of these ancient texts, these real ancient texts, and they talk about wars in other galaxies and so forth. This is crazy stuff. So, you know, we're talking about a very ancient race of people who had grown to a very high level of understanding and technology. And at least the more recent visits that we had by these Annunaki people, were, in my estimate, were at least 1 million years ahead of us technologically. Think about that for a minute. If we had 1 million more years to develop, just where we came from 100 years ago, horse and buggy, to now we can send remote control cars to other planets. Think about that. Imagine where we'll be in 1 million years. That's only what we did in 100 years. Imagine 1 million years if we continue to grow consciously, spiritually, and technologically all at once. We can be at a very, very high level, talking about golden age level, where people would live for thousands of years. We're already getting to that point now where we can replace eyes now. We can replace bones with 3D printed bones. We have the capability of replacing broken spinal cord nerves with stem cells now. People who are paralyzed are starting to walk again. This is just the beginning. We can 3D print veins, lungs. We can create blood plasma without having to get blood donations. All this stuff is possible now. So we're talking about already developing the human race into a position where it could live, where it could have an extended life. So now you add spirituality to it, you add a high level of consciousness to it, you add all these things to it, and you can see how people like this can live for tens of thousands of years and develop, the ability to be an intergalactic race. Sphinxes are everywhere. You're going to find sphinxes all over the world. Again, part of the Thoth architecture. This is a very interesting piece here. We're getting ready to go into the principles. Along the 33rd degree parallel on Earth, you're going to find structures all around the entire planet. I talk about this in deep space. And you're not only going to find structures, but you're going to find a similarity between the structures, and you're going to discover this thing called a triptych design, where you have these 3 windows. If you look at the bottom of the screen, where you have the Mexico, Egypt, and Cambodian pyramids, you'll find that they all have this triptych 3-window design, which has been now incorporated into the majority of all Catholic churches, and a lot of churches around the planet have incorporated this exact same triptych design. This goes back into deep, deep, deep antiquity, and it's part of the master architecture where we're talking about the original, now in not modern times, they call it the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, but this was the original Trinity. It represented the original Trinity. It really had nothing to do with some of the references in some of the more modern day books. It goes back into deep, deep antiquity. But across this 33rd degree parallel, not only on Earth, but also on Mars, you're going to find amazing structures that exist. And they're all with the same exact architecture, which means we're talking about the same architect. So we're talking about an advanced race of people. And again, the reason why I go over things like this before I start into a particular topic, some people just go into a topic right away. I like to establish the credibility, the understanding where these people came from, where their knowledge came from, how knowledgeable are they, and so we can make an educated decision ourselves and so we listen to what they have to say. I'm thinking if somebody's this intelligent, this bright, has these amount of capabilities, not only to establish this type of architecture, megalithic structures all over our planet, but leave behind this type of information that they, according to Thoth, claims that he left it here for a time when a new man will be born under a new sun and be able to understand and digest this information. That's actually us, the people who are here on this live feed, and the people who are out here trying to learn and spread knowledge and become more conscious. That's us. The time is now for this information, for these Hermetic principles to be taught, learned, and understood fully. And I think that was really referencing people living in our time frame. Again, the fact that they were global, look at the God Self icons. You're going to find these again all over the planet. No matter where you go, Americas, Africa, Asia, you're going to find these same exact symbols everywhere. And this is just 3 examples. It's probably about 50 examples. So no matter what continent you go to, everything is there showing that, leading back to one main source, falling back down to one architect. That was Thoth the Atlantean. Pyramid structures exist all over the entire planet, as I said before, many different shapes and forms. A lot of these pyramid structures are used for different purposes. This is what a lot of people understand. They weren't just for design and look. The Great Pyramid, for example, I'll give you a couple quick examples. The Great Pyramid in Giza is a multifunctional stone computer. It's used for power generation, wireless power generation. Now, obviously, you can't do it right now because it's been dismantled. A lot of the technology going up the Grand Gallery and resonating arms have been removed. The capstone, which most likely was probably a gold capstone, has been removed. And some of the other pieces of technology in the King's Chamber were also taken out. A lot of the pyramids around the world, all the capstones have been taken away. And it's not because of grave robbers or people looking to steal for money. It's because the people that were responsible for building these ordered them to be removed when they left this planet after the last pyramid war, to basically turn off the technology, so to speak. Some pyramids were used for portal generators, power generators. This is the Great Pyramid, by the way. A capability of transmitting sound and images. All this was capable within the Great Pyramid. It also covered the halls of Amenti. If you go on Google Earth, or go to your Instagram app and put a post up and go to add a location tag, just type in halls of Amenti. You'll find it's a real place. Yeah, they know about it. And then some pyramids were used as healing chambers. So there's a bent pyramid in Egypt. It's in Saqqara. Actually, I visited that pyramid, and scholars were saying, mainstream scholars said that pyramid was basically for, they were building it and they couldn't get the angle right, so they bent it at the top to finish it. No, that pyramid is a healing chamber. There's 3 chambers in that pyramid, which I'm going to talk about in my mystery school in October at private mystery school that I'm holding. There's 3 chambers in that pyramid. Those 3 chambers were healing chambers. Well, one of them was a healing chamber, one was a resonant chamber, and the other one was filled with a specific liquid. And there was one more room at the top where the actual doctor or physician would look down and it would generate a hologram of the person's body so that he could kind of like an x-ray, but it's more advanced, and the physician could see what was wrong with that person. That's what the bent pyramid is. It's not a pyramid that's bent because they couldn't get the angles right. This is just mainstream science, mainstream archaeology foolery that they put out there to keep you off track as to what's really going on. This is a grid of the Earth right here. And every single one of these points creates, number one, first of all, it creates a fractal system, which we know we're living in a fractal holographic universe, according to even Pope in the Atlantean. I cover this in my book, The Companion of the Endless Habits, where he's talking about that we're living in a hologram. But also, every single one of these fractal points is a geode point where there's magnetic energy resonating from the planet itself. And every single one of these points, you'll find a structure, a magnetic anomaly on this planet. A lot of these anomalies where these points are underneath water, you'll find sunken cities there as well, or sunken ships and so forth. These are very, very important nodes on the planet that resonate and emit energy still to this very day. And the ancients knew how to access and utilize the 0-point energy, this magnetic fields and these energy points on the grid of the Earth itself. So this is the planetary grid. So now that I've established the fact that these are advanced beings, very sophisticated, very knowledgeable, way more advanced than us. I'm talking about 1 million+ years more advanced. The master architects. Stone masonry originated with both the Atlantean and the builders that came from other places. It didn't originate here on this planet. This has been talked about in many, many ancient texts. Sometimes people want to doubt some of the things that I say, but they haven't taken the time like I have to go through these texts. It's been now 20 years of research just in text alone, and over 1,000 books later. And in the more recent last 7 years, just going through hundreds and hundreds of different tablets and scrolls and traveling around the planet and talking to locals, talking to homegrown archaeologists, getting the insights, getting the inside information, you come to realize that it was a very, very incredible past on this planet, and not only on this planet, in our solar system itself. So Thoth says he says to himself, I've got to leave something behind that people in the future, when they start to become more advanced consciously and technologically, can get their hands on and digest and begin to utilize this in their life to take the mankind back to the golden age, because we go through these cycles, these yugas. And right now we're what I believe is in Tetra Yuga. Some people want to say that we're in the Bronze Age, but I really don't believe that. I really believe at this point here, after reading this and studying the tablets, we're more on the swing up side, going back towards the golden age again. And we here, all of us, are really the pioneers of making or allowing this to happen to mankind, to get back into this golden age where, for 20, 30,000 years, the world's at peace, lifespans are extended. This stuff is written in the Bible and many other things as well, many other ancient texts. These exact phrases are all copied from the Emerald Tablets, where man's lifespan is extended. or our level of consciousness is raised to a very high level. We are very spiritual people. We're living in full agreement with each other in terms of how we treat each other, how we love each other. Ultimate, like, unconditional love is the main thing that's happening on this planet, and also throughout our soul. And everywhere we go, everywhere we touch, we're basically putting out unconditional love. And we're living in synchronicity with nature. We're not destroying the planet. We're living in synchronicity with the planet. All these things we talked about in there, and how to create portals and everything else. So the Hermetica is the key bit of information to help us understand not only how to get there, but to take a journey to inner space before we go to outer space. Because in order to make that advance, in order to jump to the next level as a civilization and as a spiritual person, you have to take a journey to inner space first. And that's what the Hermetic Principles are really all about. Hermes Trismegistus, master of all arts and sciences, perfect in all crafts, ruler of the three worlds, scribe of the gods, and keeper of the book of life. Thoth Hermes Trismegistus, the 3 times the greatest, the first intelligencer, was regarded by the ancient Egyptians as the embodiment of the universal mind. While in all probability there's actually existed a great sage and educated by the name Hermes, it is impossible to extricate the historical man from the massive legendary accounts which attempt to identify him with the cosmic principle of thought. So the word thought is where you get Thoth. The word thought came from Thoth. And you know, there's a new slang out here with the younger kids about T-H-O-T, thought. So they're taking something that's really powerful, a powerful name, a name that has real true history and everything behind it, and have turned it into a street term that means, you know, slut and all this other kind of crazy stuff. This is how they always trick us. They always get us to use more powerful things to put negative consciousness behind it, so it has no power in your life. But the true reality is Thoth. Some people say talk, but thought comes from Thoth. That's where the word comes from. You know, so that was that quote came from Annunaki Hall, The Secret Teachings of All Ages. Amazing book. Creation according to Hermes. In the beginning, Noahs, which really, Noahs is another word for God, created second Noahs. You're going to find that these Noahs are spheres. Who becomes, who becomes a craftsman and creates the world. Noahs too creates 7 powers, and the 7 spheres around what will become the earth. The spheres have control over what will be earth. They control what we know as destiny. The 7 spheres are the moon, the sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Here is the beginning of astrology. Noah's too sets the spheres in motion, and life on earth begins. And these spheres, you've probably seen them before in the logo for PortalToAscension. In the necklace that I normally have on, which I just took off just a little while ago, you see me wear it a lot, the flower of life. Now it starts with the seed, okay? So first you have the seed of life, and in the seed of life, you have these circles. You have 6 circles that surround a 7th circle, which create these intersections. And these intersections here, every single one of those intersections is called the vesicle piscis. And the vesicle piscis is actually the womb of creation. So everything is coming out of this formation here. This seed is literally in you, through you, and out of you. It's all around you at all times. Every plump unit of space-time that exists contains this formation inside of it. And if you take a cross-cut section of your DNA, this is the flower of life, and it holds the golden ratio. So it's even inside your DNA. Every aspect of you, every aspect of everything that exists in this entire 3rd dimension emanates, and I mean literally emanates, from this particular shape and form. This is where life comes from, guys. There was a famous scientist that took a flask, flask from a laboratory, and he sterilized it with heat. Then he vacuumed it and sealed it. So it's a sealed, sterilized flask. Should be no way anything can get inside this flask, right? He leaves it sit for a couple days. He comes back, and then he goes ahead and looks at it under an electron microscope. Guess what happened, guys? Life forms. Microscopic life forms fully formed inside the flask. Can't see with the naked eye. Under an electron microscope, you can see these formations of different life forms that came to be out of nowhere. How can that be? Where did they come from? How do we have so many millions of different species on this planet? As many as being extinct, you would think we'd be running out of animals. But every single year, more species actually appear. And they're everywhere. That's because life is consistently emanating directly through the vesicle piscis nonstop. So here we have, you see what we have here through just even through biology, you can see the shape form as we build out the seed of life all the way into a flower of life. You can see how, if you look from the left, well, my left to the right, as the formation of cells and biological entity, we literally, how this energy field literally creates avatar bodies. Your body is an avatar body. Okay, there's two parts to you. You have the avatar body, and then you have your light being, which has synchronized with this avatar body, and your light being actually animates it. Without the light being, your light being inside this avatar wouldn't even move. It wouldn't even get up, it wouldn't talk, it wouldn't do anything. It just lay there completely unanimated. You animate the light avatar. But this is the instructions here for the energy field that literally builds your avatar body, and all biological organisms that exist in the third dimension are built this way. It's a very, very simple process, very easy to understand, but very rarely taught. But this is what Thoth is talking about in terms of the process used to not only build planets, but also even include building people, as above, so below. This is where you get that from. So the flower of life is ancient. It's not something new. It's not something that they like to say, quote unquote, New Agers came up with. This is deep antiquity. This is the Assyrian Temple at Abydos. I've been there before. There's pictures of me on my account walking through this area. And what's amazing about this at Temple of Abydos, it's right behind the Assyrian, it's right behind the Abydos Temple. The Assyrian Temple is lower, deeper in the ground. Why? Because the deeper you go, the more ancient you go. As more sand covers up, they build more temples on top of temples to keep the site sacred. So the Abydos was built on top of most of the Assyrian, but part of it was uncovered. But the most amazing thing was this column that's there with this atomically engraved image of the flower of life in the column. This is about 30, 40,000 years old. This isn't even like 2,000 or 3,000 or 5. No, this is deep, deep antiquity. They already knew that this was what I call the face of God, because all life emanates from this flower of life, all energy fields. Inside this flower of life is a 64-grid tetrahedron. Inside that 64-grid tetrahedron, it creates something called the vector equilibrium. Inside the vector equilibrium, you can access unlimited energy 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It never runs out, it never expires. That's the secret to free energy, accessing that field. It's an electromagnetic wave with a specific frequency, which is one of the things that we're working on developing at First Class Space, the ability to use a special photonic receptor that only can absorb that electromagnetic energy and convert that into usable power. So those are some of the things that we're working on. In the creation myth, we are introduced to astrology and the influence of planets upon man, from which man is expected to rise above. We have dualism, a God of the heavens and one who created earth. We have the idea of man as a son or part of God. We have man being given the power of creation, where you create your own reality. The idea that man has a dual nature is one in heaven, non-material, and the soul spirit, which is one physical in the world of matter, the body, which we talked about just a minute ago, the avatar, and the fall of leaving heaven to be with nature. This is one of the biggest mysteries that have gone on with information that was copied into the modern day religious books about fallen angels. It has nothing to do with Anunnakis, and it has nothing to do with these evil spirits that decided to turn against God and all this. It has to do with the collective consciousness deciding at one point that it would, before any entities existed, that it would divide itself into multi-Googles of entities. Google is the number, it's not just the name, it's the actual number. It's way bigger than trillion. And I believe there are Googles of entities inside this universe. So it divided itself into Googles of entities so that they can experience life subjectively in the third dimension. And in the Emerald Tablets, Thoth talks about the fact that some of these energetic beings from the collective consciousness decide to create avatar bodies to go experience life, what it would be like in the third dimension, to walk around, smell the flowers, live in this particular realm and understand it better. Why? Because consciousness always wants to send back information to the source. It's as above, so below. How does your brain work? Your brain is encased in complete darkness. It doesn't know anything going on outside of your head at all. It knows nothing. Your brain knows nothing. But what it does have, it has friends. Sight, hearing, seeing, smell, touch, all your senses. So the brain says to your sensory friends, his sensory friends, it says, hey guys, I don't know what's going on out there, Go out there and collect me some information. So the friends go, okay, we got you. So the friends go out. They start collecting information, you know, but they don't know what themselves what they're collecting. They're just collecting literal zeros and ones, bits of data. They don't know what they've collected, but they collect this information and they bring it back to the brain, which is encased in complete darkness. The brain has a way of figuring it all out, understands what the information is, and then the brain says, okay, great. Now I'm going to project a hologram as to what's going on outside, and then you navigate through that hologram through a projection from your mind. That's all it is. And so consciousness is the same exact thing. The collective consciousness is this giant consciousness energy source, somewhere probably outside of this dimension, that has sent itself in here and split itself into pieces to collect information and to learn what it's like to be a third dimensional entity of being. And it's now takes all that information that you lived your entire life, transmitting that information directly back to source. And it's collecting it as above, so below. It will not change. So let's talk a little bit about the laws. Move this up here a little bit. Oops. All things in all universes move according to law, and the law which regulates the movement of the planets is no more immutable than the law which regulates the material expressions of man. One of the greatest of all cosmic laws is that which is responsible for the formation of man as a material being. The great aim of the mystery schools of all ages has been to reveal the workings of which law will connect man, the material, and man, the spiritual. The connecting link between the material man and the spiritual man is the intellectual man. For the mind partakes of both the material and immaterial qualities. The aspirant for higher knowledge must develop the intellectual side of us, of his nature, and so strengthen his will that it will be able to concentrate all powers of his being on and in the plane he desires. This is how you create your reality. The great search for light, life, and love only begins on the material plane. Carried to its ultimate and final goal is complete oneness with the universal consciousness. The foundation is in this material is the first step. Then comes the higher goal of spiritual attainment. In the following pages, I will give the interpretation of the Emerald Tablets and their secret and the hidden esoteric messages. Concealed in the words of Thoth are many meanings that do not appear on the surface. Light of knowledge brought to bear upon the tablets will open many new fields of thought. Read and be wise, but only if the light of your own consciousness awakens the deep-seated understanding, which is the inherent quality of the soul. That's directly from my book, Companion of the Emerald Tablets. So now we're going to get into this, guys. Let's talk a little bit about the universe runs on natural law. So the general principles of natural law, we're talking about 7 principles that we're going to touch on a little bit here today. Make sure I'm going on time here. Okay, we're good. The first principle is the principle of mentalism. And this is where it's first because it's one of the most important ones in my personal opinion. And this is where a lot of people fall short in understanding or figuring out how to create their own reality and how things happen and how things manifest and how the future unfolds and why they're in situations that they're in. We're going to cover the principle of correspondence, the principle of vibration, the principle of polarity, rhythm, the cause and effect, which is one of my favorite as well, and then the principle of gender. A very powerful quote here from the Kybalion. The principles of truth are 7. He who knows these understandingly possess the magic key, before whose touch all the doors of the temple will fly open. Where's the temple? This is your temple, guys. Not a building out there in the street, not this place you go to with a gigantic image on top of it that you think represents something that happened in the past. The temple is right here, right between your eyes. This is your temple. This is what this is referencing. It's not referencing a physical building where you go and put money in a plate. It's referencing where you put knowledge into your brain. The principle of mentalism, all is mind. The universe is mental. What we're talking about here is the universe is actually a thinking entity. And it has the capability of making things happen. As we know, everything is here. It has an energetic pattern to it that's intellectual. It has enough intellectual connections that it's actually conscious. So the universe itself is conscious. And this is proving to be when you look at a zoomed out image of the structures that create the universe, which are all the galaxies and how they're connected and linked, and then take an image of an MRI of a human brain. What do you see? They're identical. Human brain and the universe the same. Why? Because the universe is consciousness, as above, so below. And what we're talking about here is the fact that you have to understand, you literally create your own reality. And that's just not something you hear people saying this all the time. And it's kind of like, you know, oh, people just say it all the time. But when you really dig into this and understand what it's talking about, Thoth talked about this thousands and thousands of years ago. This has been taught for eons in mystery schools. The fact that you have the capability of understanding this and creating your reality tunnel. See, collectively, we all participate in creating reality, collectively. But individually, we have our own reality tunnel that we have the capability of working in, manipulating, and even bending, as Thoth talks about in the Tablets. And this entire universe was thought into existence through this energy source, this main consciousness collective that exists. And you have the same capabilities. Because the universe can do it, that means you can do it. Because why? Because the universe is inside of you. No matter, when you look into the human body and go down, even down to the atom level, you're going to discover that it resembles the universe in every single way. One cell in your body is its own universe. One cell, just one cell. One cell in your body can do everything the universe can do, and vice versa. And now you have a collection of what? Trillions of cells in your body, literally. So you have universe, you have a multiverse flowing through your veins, through your body. And all the information that was used to create everything you see is flowing and coursing through your veins. And when you understand that, the second thing you have to understand is that your brain operates on a specific frequency, just like the universe operates on a specific frequency. So what happens is the universe, it only communicates good with high frequency communication. When you go to low frequency communication, it falls on deaf ears. So one of the most important things to want to understand, and Thoth talks about this in the Tablets, and I cover this in my book, is the fact that to get your reality tunnel to go in the direction that you're looking to make it go, you must operate at a very high frequency. And people say, well, what is it? How do I get to a high frequency? Well, think about this. If you're looking at the news, CNN, NBC, Fox, whatever, and they're showing, you know, a lot of just death, destruction, murder, and you know, all this other, the poly tricks and stuff that come on 24/7. And it's got you in this fear mode. We're going to war again, and my son's going to probably get taken to war, and all this stuff. Now, your mind is in a fright and flight mode, and now your frequency has dropped. So fear is a low frequency. And this has been proven in the laboratory. This isn't even like some kind of esoteric message. This is like real peer-reviewed science. When you're in a position of fear, anxiety, distraught, you're worried, you're angry, all those frequencies are lower frequencies where they've actually seen a cosine wave that they can measure, this frequency wave, touching less parts of your DNA as it flows through you and out of you into your torus energy field. When you're at a high frequency, you're thinking forgiveness, love, unconditional love. You're thinking happiness. You're thinking about powerful things happening to you in your life. You're thinking about great accomplishments. You're thinking about health, good health. All these types of thought patterns, those types of thought patterns bring on a higher frequency where the cosine wave is actually shorter, which means it touches more of your DNA on its way out to your torus energy field. And this torus energy field, you're projecting this at all times, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, as long as your avatar body's alive. But the information starts up here, and then it's transmitted into the field, okay? So when you're thinking from a position of power, unconditional love, happiness, that's when you're at a high frequency. So to get to a high frequency, start loving people, start forgiving people, start blessing people. Yeah, you can bless people. You don't have to rely on another entity or another deity that you can't even see or talk to bless anybody. You can bless people. The power is already in you to do that. You can be thankful for people. You can be thankful for what you have. All those are high frequency thoughts. And when you do that, now you're at a high resonating frequency. And when you do that, now you're able to do things like create your own reality tunnel. And I give people examples all the time. If I'm going somewhere that I know it's usually like a busy spot, like a busy mall, or I'm running late to a place like a movie theater or an appointment, I visualize the place that I'm going to before I get there. And I actually visualize parking spots being available, because one of the biggest problems is parking. I visualize those parking spots. And I visualize 2 or 3 parking spots being open at some point that I can pull into and park within a timely manner. And then I not only envision it, then I command it, and then I say it. These parking spots will be available to me when I arrive at my destination. When I get to my destination, what happens? Parking spots. You don't believe this? Try it yourself. Don't laugh at it, and when you do it, you got to really truly believe it. This is just a very simple, small exercise that you can do. Elevators. If you're in a busy place, you need to get on the elevator a lot, you can mentally call elevators before you arrive at the elevator. These are small things that you can do when you're practicing your mentalism and how to literally utilize the mind to impact the world around you. It's not magic. It's not magic. It's that you have to be on the right frequency with the universe. And what happens is your brain has billions of magnetite crystals inside of it. These magnetite crystals literally have the capability of syncing with what I call the Christ consciousness or the elite consciousness that exists. And that consciousness will then sync with the universal consciousness. It's like a quantum entanglement. So first you synchronize with the first crystal, which is what they call the Christ consciousness. And then the Christ consciousness is already entangled with the universal consciousness. And now what happens is it creates this well, this gravity well that bends and warps around your mind that allows what you want and need to fall toward you instead of away from you. And this is what happens. See, in a low frequency mindset, the warp field is bent away and things are falling away from you. You're getting into more and more situations that you can't handle. In a situation where you're in quantum entanglement with universal consciousness, now the warp field is around you this way and things are falling in toward you. Things you want, things you need, people you need to meet, windows and doors that need to open for you to accomplish your goals and so forth. That's a lot of the mentalism that's talked about in the book. The brain, let me just check the time here. Okay, we're doing good. Let's take a look at the brain here and the neocortex. Now, you didn't think that the Matrix movie was calling him Neo for no reason, did you? They're calling him Neo because he is literally, they're referencing a part of the human brain. And the neocortex, Latin for new bark or new rind, is also called the neophallium, which means new mantle. It's the part of the brain in mammals, and it's actually the outer layer of the cerebral hemispheres, made up of 6 layers labeled 1 through 6, 6 being the most innermost and number 1 being the outermost. The neocortex is part of the cerebral cortex, along with the archaeocortex and paleocortex, which are cortical parts of the limbic system. In humans, it is involved in higher functions such as sensory perception, generation of motor commands, spatial reasoning, conscious thought, and language. And you thought it was just a name. No, it's a lot more than that. The human brain is a very powerful, powerful receiving device. It receives consciousness, it receives information and analyzes it and breaks it down on a consistent basis. And there's a famous experiment as well, another experiment that happened where they took people into a laboratory, and this happened by accident. They were trying to find out in the human brain how it would respond to images of love and happiness or images of hate and destruction and evil. And so they put this special cap on the participant's head, which had these electrodes that would read the brain waves, looked on a computer to see, okay, if we show this person a picture of the bed of roses, how does the brain respond electronically? We show them a picture of a person, that just got killed. How does the brain respond electronically? If we saw them a picture of a person that, that, for example, one of them was actually a person getting murdered, how does the brain respond electronically to that? So these images were spaced out about 10 seconds apart because they wanted to get time for the feedback from the brain to the computer. This was done about 15 years ago now. So computers weren't as great as we have them now. Probably right now would have been a lot quicker. What happened? Okay. So these people are they don't know each other in individual rooms, dark rooms, cap on, looking at a screen. Picture shows up, bed of flowers, transmits to the computer. They see what the readout is for that. Next picture shows up, person getting murdered. They see what that image is, transmits to a computer. After a bit of time, they started to realize something really weird started happening. The human brain, without the person even knowing what the next image was, because the images, remember, were 10 seconds apart, it would start reading out to the computer what the next image was going to be, whether it was going to be horror or it was going to be serene. It knew up to 7 seconds in advance what the next picture was going to be. We're not living in real time, guys. We're living in a delayed system. Evidence of this, the fact that There's a delay in between the time that it takes a photon to bounce off of. Right now, you're looking at a computer screen or a cell phone, whatever you're looking at to watch this presentation. It takes a bit of time for a photon to bounce off the screen that you're looking at to watch me and watch this presentation, hit your eye, go back into the brain and be deciphered so that you can tell what it is. So even you looking at me in this presentation right now is happening in the past. Every single moment is a fleeting moment. You're not looking at me in real time. You're seeing what I did probably a Planck unit ago, okay, or Planck lengths ago. So this is how it works. So this is amazing stuff that the human brain is receiving information from an outside source. It happened already before the person in real time, what we consider to be real time, was actually past time, so it happened. This is how powerful the brain is. Your brain is receiving consciousness. It doesn't create it. This is an important thing to know. I really do believe that we're living in a fractal holographic universe. I talk about this a lot. Some of you have seen my talks about it. And it doesn't mean that we're not real. It means that we're living. It means that the method used to create our reality has to do with fractal technology that's created by an outside source. So yes, according to the ancient books, the Bibles, the Quran, the tablets, the Sumerian tablets, the Mahabharata, any ancient text you go into, any ancient civilization that has a verbal history handed down, they all will tell you the same thing. No matter where you go on this planet, we're living inside of a creation. That is true. What's never really fully explained until more recently, a way where we can understand it, is how this creation was made. I don't believe that it was from a person in the sky with a magic wand. I really believe now, after doing a lot of research and digging and understanding a lot of this esoteric information and reading the Emerald Tablets and seeing what Thoth is talking about, we're living in a fractal holographic universe. Now, the fractal holographic universe is not something new. This is ancient. However, rediscovered in more modern times by Dr. Benoit Mandelbrot, where he rediscovered this mathematical equation, very short mathematical equation that literally lays out the foundation to build out universes. And evidence of this is there's a video game called No Man's Sky. And in this video game, No Man's Sky, this fractal universe is in there that has 80 billion planets with life forms, unlimited life forms on each planet, on a disk that fits into a console. Why? Because the power of that one simple mathematical equation that puts it in there that allows the next frame of reality to occur as we need it. So like Pope talks about in the Emerald Tablets, like I talk about in my lectures, like quantum physicists and quantum mechanics and experts on quantum theory talk about, when you're not looking at something, it's not there. It turns back into a waveform, an electromagnetic wave. When you're looking at it, when you're observing it consciously, then it collapses back into what we consider to be solid matter. So we're living in a very fluid universe. We're actually in this fluid energy source right now. And consciousness directly affects it. There was a very famous experiment done called the double slit experiment, which I talked about before as well. And it's a tiny little box with 2 slits in it, microscopic slits, and they send little tiny particles through these slits and see what happens to them on the back wall. Well, the particles go through these little tiny slits and they create a pattern on the back wall, and like a digital pattern. But when you look at them, it turns into a wave pattern. Why is that? Because conscious observation basically helps to shape reality. I'm sorry, so initially what they would do is they would look at the pattern going through they didn't look at the pattern, they would just look at what was on the back wall, and they would actually see an interference pattern. So how can you shoot one particle at a time through slits and get an interference pattern? That means that the objects were not being observed, so they were waves. When we put the looking camera there to see how it was happening, it turned back into particles again. So it sounds a little complex, but very simply, it means that our conscious observation directly affects our reality and creates what we call solid matter, or collapses frequencies into what we consider to be solid matter. When in true reality, nothing here really truly exists at all. Everything here is an illusion. As a matter of fact, I'm not even talking to you guys. I'm talking to myself. And when you're talking to somebody, you're talking to yourself. We're all one collective consciousness out here collecting information and gathering data, transmitting back to one source. We're all part of that same one source. Locality is an illusion. Distance is an illusion. Separation is an illusion. Matter of fact, if I took all 7.5 billion people on Earth right now and took away all the empty space between their atoms, because atoms are 99.9% empty space, took all the empty space out of the atoms, I can fit every single human being into a sugar cube on this planet. Every human being can fit into one sugar cube if I took away all the empty space. This is where we are, guys. This is how powerful this information is. So let's take a look at some of this stuff. Interestingly enough, the term matrix, we'll tell you, we're living in the matrix, guys. The term matrix comes from much older religious texts. The matrix first appears in 1312 BCE when the Torah was verbally handed down to Moses. This information later made it into the Old Testament of the modern-day Bible, which was written over 1,000 years later in the 6th century BCE. In fact, the term matrix, the matrix, can be located in 5 separate verses in the King James Bible, but hardly anyone ever realized it. Exodus 13:12, Exodus 13:15, Exodus 34:19, Numbers 3:12, and Numbers 18:15. So I can tell you guys, I've been digging into this stuff for a very long time, okay? Shall bring thee, here's an example, shall bring thee into the land of Canaanites, as he sware unto thee and to thy fathers, and shall give it thee, thou shalt set apart unto the Lord, and all over the matrix. And every first thing that come out of the beast which thou hast, the male shall be the Lord's. The first alluding to the fact that the matrix is a womb. Now what happens in the movie The Matrix? Where does Neo wake up from? He wakes up out of the womb, an artificial womb, and he's ejected from the matrix. See, in the movie The Matrix, Neo wakes up from the embryonic womb only to find the rest of the world was still asleep and enslaved as a power source for the machines. His mission is to help free the slaves. In the book of Exodus, which is actually the second book of the Torah, the book tells how the Israelites escaped slavery in Egypt through the strength of Yahweh, who's actually Enlil. They didn't realize they were being manipulated. The God who has chosen Israel as his people. See, so this is ancient stuff, guys, being used in modern entertainment. But a lot of people, it just slips right by you. But when you get to a high level of consciousness and you're into this type of information, these things light up on the screen when you see them, like lightning bolts. You know, that's what happens to me, like lightning bolts, and I immediately dig into them. Reality is built out of thought, and every thought begins to create reality. Edgar Cayce. So one of the biggest things that I'm involved in my life, and some of you who follow my other account, Coach Billy Carson, is more like for entrepreneurs and manifesting and trying to, find a way to live life outside of the matrix and dabble in the matrix and live it because we're here, but at the same time, know how to step out of it when you need to. Is I talk about not only building your own business, trying to get yourself out of the financial matrix, but also trying to live a life where you enjoy what you do, try to be on vacation, but working on vacation, and trying to reach and obtain high levels of goals, which is what I talk about there a lot. And I utilize something. I utilize this first Hermetic Principle, which is the power of thought, mentalism, to help manifest my reality. Once I discovered how to do it, I was already doing it, but everybody does it. When I really found out how to focus it and make it happen on a consistent basis is when I really began to see a lot of amazing things happen. I literally can do and have whatever I want. And that's the mentality and mindset that I always have. And when you doubt that, that's when it doesn't happen for you. You have to truly believe in it and feel it inside of you, deep inside your heart. So I talk about it all the time over there, the fact that I manifest things. And I use Facebook and Instagram on some of my accounts as a vision board for things that I want to bring into my life. Whether it's a new car, whether it's a trip that I want to take to go explore somewhere, whether it's an investment property that I want to get involved in so that I can utilize that revenue to eat, take care of my family, whatever it is. I help myself by manifesting myself, by envisioning those things, posting about them, talking about them. I even have a private group that I have that's called the Billionaires Owners Club. And in there, I put things that only billionaires would have because I'm trying to manifest that type of mentality and lifestyle. It's not because I feel that money is the biggest thing and most important thing in the world. I just feel that I can help more people if I'm more well off financially, because a lot of the things that need to take place on this planet are going to require a lot of money. And if you think that you can just sit back and just make posts on the internet and change the world, it's probably not going to happen that way. It's going to help, but you need to have people plugged in with ordinary, powerful people. And I just happen to be one of those people that has the capability of doing that. It's not for everybody. But if you're trying to manifest something like a brand new Toyota Corolla, you're trying to manifest something like a brand new job that helps pay you better wages so you can take care of your family better. You're trying to manifest moving from an apartment into a house. All of these things are possible. The energy and the power source is already inside you to make that happen. All you have to do is first visualize it in your mind. I mean, literally see it. Don't just like, oh yeah, I want a new house. But what kind of new house? I could show you today on my phone. I was on Zillow today. Zillow is an app with houses on it, okay? Because we're looking to move into a new property. And I'm looking at properties and we're picking out properties and we're getting an idea of the kind of property, how we want it to look, how we want the interiors to look, how we want the driveway to look, how we want the backyard to look. And then we're finding them and we find ones that we like, then we're screenshotting those and we're putting them on our vision board in our group chat that we have so we can actually see them and look at them on a daily basis. And then also looking into, well, what would the payments be? What would the mortgage be? What would the insurance? What would this? What are all these aspects of owning this property? What's the maintenance upkeep going to be on a property like this? All these aspects need to be considered when you're trying to manifest. You can't just be like, oh, I want a new house and walk away. You say, no, I want a new house. This is very specific. This is the kind of house. This is the kind of backyard. This is the kind of front yard. This is the kind of size I'm interested in. This is the amount of bedrooms. I want 4 bedrooms. I want 5. I want 1. I want 2. Whatever the number is that you want. Think about those. Write them down then. Also write them down. Piece of paper and a pen. Remember that stuff? Now you're focusing on this manifestation. Now think about what it would take to be able to afford the payment on it, or you're going to pay for it cash, whichever one that you're looking to do. You're going to buy it outright or make a down payment and make payments. Start thinking and focusing on the income sources needed to generate that revenue to take care of that. So now you're focusing on, now all of a sudden you have energy being directed directly into this manifestation that you're looking to create. And you're not just throwing it out there, you're speaking it, you're writing it, you're taking pictures of it, you're visualizing it in your mind. And now guess what's gonna happen? The universe is gonna start unfolding and doors are gonna start opening. Now this is where your intuition has to take over. You have to be able to realize when doors of opportunities are opening, or windows of opportunity are opening for you to take advantage of situations to manifest, help you manifest this reality. This is where a lot of people fall off again. They don't realize the opportunities coming to them. And this is where you can really fall short. You have to have the intuition because windows and doors, they open, but they also what? They close. There's a short period of time that they open and close, and you have to be able to jump through when they're open. What does that mean? If you're looking to buy a property, let's say, for example, I'm just using the property as an example. And there's a opportunity for you to maybe take on a new job or a new independent contractor. So something came up that allow you to generate some extra revenue for that, but you really don't feel like doing it because you feel like you're a little overworked, or maybe you're tired, or maybe whatever reason you just feel like doing it. And now they appoint that contract to somebody else. And now the house that you were interested in becomes available and would have been affordable if you would have had that contract, but you didn't take that contract because you just felt like whatever. And now the house that you really want just became available. The one you really was like, this is the dream house, this is the one I wanted. But now you're like, damn, I just gave away a contract that would have helped me cover the whole down payment or maybe even pay the whole house off. That's what I'm talking about. Little windows of opportunity will appear to you and come at you in different ways, but you gotta have the future vision to understand that this is gonna help me with something that I'm trying to acquire or something I'm trying to do for my family. You have to be able to put that together and utilize that in your life, okay? So let's talk a little bit about general relativity. I kind of touched on this earlier, but I want to go into it a little bit better. General relativity is a name given to Einstein's theory of gravity. This has to do with the curvature of space-time and how mass or gravity can actually warp or bend space. We as humans have the ability to bend the matrix to our will using nothing more than our mind. Imagine that the matrix is a space-time and our minds are the gravity wells. Everywhere that we go in the third dimension, we create warped space in the matrix. Okay, so this is important to understand. So if you look here at this diagram, this image that I have here, you see the Earth, all spatial bodies create a warped gravitational field or warped space around the body. There's warped space around your actual avatar right now. It's bent. Space bends around objects. The more mass, the more the bend. Okay, that's why suns create supergravity because they warp. They have so much mass, they warp space in a way that a lot of things fall directly toward them. That's why a lot of the asteroids fall towards the sun, not away from the sun. All right, so keep that in mind. Now, let's replace the Earth with your consciousness. I use Albert Einstein here, good old Albert Einstein, to represent your mind, just because obviously he was an intelligent person. But his brain, your consciousness, will replace his space with your space. You're now sitting in space-time. We're all sitting in space-time. Quantum entanglement has to occur for this law of attraction to happen, for this manifestation. So your mind now has to be on a high level frequency to sync with the Christ consciousness or the universal consciousness like partner. There's two particles out there. One is the conscious level frequency vibration that you synchronize with, and that frequency and that flower of life frequency is then synchronized with the flower of life universal consciousness. And so what happens is you can see the arrows go down as your frequency mind is connected directly to this consciousness, this high level thinking, and you're thinking about manifesting an object or a thing or a love or whatever it is into your life. And then it synchronizes because it's high frequency with the universal consciousness. The law of attraction is allowed to occur in your life. And that gravity well, those bends around your consciousness, your face, that's where all the information, all the opportunities, all the ability, all the things you need to make things happen are falling directly toward you. And then your intuition has to come into play and recognize that those things falling toward you and utilize them as tools to accomplish the main goal of manifestation. That's how it works. It's not magic. It's not all this other kind of stuff. It's real unified physics that allows this to happen, okay? And what is quantum entanglement? Scientists discovered, actually Einstein called it spooky action at distance. You take two particles and use a laser and do something called parabolic down conversion, where you get both particles on the same frequency. If you had the capability, you could take one particle to the other end of the universe, literally. And then you can change the information in the particle that's local to you, and the other particle will change instantaneously, bypassing the speed of light. That's quantum entanglement, proving that distance is even an illusion. We're all living on this energy grid, okay? So this is amazing stuff that modern science is now quantum entangled multiple particles together. I think they've done now several molecules, which is amazing. So in the future, you'll see something like subspace communication, which is one of the things that we're working on at the Space Agency. One of our research and development projects is a subspace relay. And how does a subspace relay work? Well, we have four crystals, special crystals. These crystals are special because they're on a specific frequency and evolve in quantum entanglement. So 3 of the crystals get put into 3 different satellites and get sent out to deep space in a region that's being explored, or we know in the future will be explored. They create an array. They all synchronize back to the crystal here that's local at the control station. If you're out there in a ship in 100 years, you want to send a signal back to Earth, and you're out there by Jupiter, it would take 3 months for that signal, that message to get back to Earth. However, if you're out there by Jupiter and you send a message to the local satellite relay, which may only take a couple of hours, that array will transmit that information back to the local crystal here on Earth instantaneously, bypassing the speed of light, meaning communication back and forth can be done from deep space back to the home base. This is some of the stuff we're working on developing using this same universal unified physics and this type of spiritual technology. This is real stuff, guys, and this is all talked about in my book. So like I said before, this is a famous scene here. One of my favorite scenes in The Matrix is when he literally realizes the true power flowing in him, through him, and out of him, and allows him to realize that the Matrix is bendable, it's warpable, it's manipulable. You can change it. You don't have to go down the path that you're on. You can literally at any moment stop and change your mind. That's how powerful this scene is to me. And it allows you to know that the path that you're on now doesn't have to be the path that you stay on. You can make a mental decision to understand the power that's already inside of you and make that adjustment. The law of attraction. In the Matrix, when you are in sync with the universal consciousness, you will warp or bend the Matrix, and the law of attraction kicks in, allowing your needs and wants to fall toward you. Simply put, the law of attraction is the ability to attract into our life whatever we are focusing on. It is believed that regardless of age, nationality, or religious belief, we are all susceptible to the laws which govern the universe, including the law of attraction. It is the law of attraction which uses the power of the mind to translate whatever is in our thoughts and materialize them into reality. How do we get into sync with the universal consciousness? To do so, first, we must, let me set it away for you guys, raise our vibration of thoughts. In the third dimension, the universe only responds to high frequency thoughts, period. We covered this. Become conscious of your thoughts. Everything you think, say, or feel becomes your reality. Practice acts of kindness. Be conscious. of the foods you eat. Try to eat living foods. Drink a lot of water. Meditate. Show empathy. Stop watching media that has a low vibrational message. Intense study and research, and be grateful for everything. This is how you do it, guys. This is the secret. This is how I live my life. This is how I flow through this, this ether that we're in right now. I flow through it literally on this every single day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is literally how I flow. When people see me doing all these great things and going to all these great places and getting all these speaking engagements and getting all these TV shows, it's because I put into motion these actions in my life. I've done the research, I've done the study, I've done the eating habits, I've done the exercise, I've done the meditation. I've done all the things needed. I've increased my intuition, I've increased my capacity for love. I've forgiven people and all this stuff. And things fall into play. I exercise the law of manifestation, the manifestation of destiny. And this is how I live. And this is why, you know, I'm able to do the things that I'm able to do. Thought creates reality. So now that we've gone over that, that was a very big segment, but I think it was really important to time here for people to understand how powerful that was. So now we're going to go over the principle of correspondence: as above, so below; as below, so above; as within, so without; and as without, so within. These statements that people are, you know, somebody was talking to a couple of weeks ago about as above, so below, and the guy was like, "Oh, that's the New Age stuff." No, man, this stuff, what I just read you, came out of the Emerald Tablets 36,000 years ago. So the new books that are out now that people go to temples for and so forth, those are the New Age books. I'm reading from super antiquity, deep, deep antiquity. And the sages of old have talked about this for eons. This is nothing even close to being New Age. This is old age, okay? In the solar system, you can see this compared to an atom. So you can see planets orbiting the sun, and in an atom, what do you see? You see electrons orbiting the actual nucleus. So you're talking about the similarity at the large scale all the way down to the smaller scale, as above, so below. You know, what's really amazing is in a solar system, in astrophysics, you have something where planets can shift positions based off of the gravitational energy flowing throughout the solar system. So, for example, if you look into real astrophysics in our past here in our solar system, you'll discover that some of our planets have switched positions. I think it was Saturn and Uranus actually switched positions. If you do the rewind on them, you'll discover they were in different spots. One was at a higher orbit than the other one. And what happens here is they discovered that a massive body, a massive object came through our solar system in the ancient past, and gravitation caused that shift and caused one planet to jump to a higher orbit. This is something you find also in what? In atoms. So in atoms, if you have charged particles that collide, you'll find that an electron can jump to a higher orbit. Again, as above, so it doesn't change. No matter what scale you put it on, it's all going to be very, very similar, as above, so below. What's amazing about the solar system situation, where they say now, this is peer-reviewed science, it's not even a mystery, that this large body came through our solar system. Well, where do we find that at, guys? In the Enuma Elish, the 7 tablets of creation discovered by Henry Austin Layard. You know, this is ancient stuff. You know, 7,000 to 8,000 year old tablets discovered in Mesopotamia that talk to us about the fact that there was a huge planetary body called Marduk, which is also Amun-Ra. In ancient texts, it's called Nibiru, that came through our solar system and caused this shift to occur, and also caused the explosion of Tiamat, which was the 4th planet in our solar system, which now is the asteroid belt because it's an exploded planet. But all of that is talked about in the ancient texts, and I covered it in the book as well. Let's take a quick break here and watch this video. I want you to understand what you are esoterically, not exactly esoterically. Understand this, guys. Top left corner, this is you. If you look to the right corner at the top, you see that the sperm are going and seeking to get into this egg. And the lower left corner, this is you again, you can see the brain connected to the spinal cord, which resembles what? Sperm. Is it the sperm growing up? No. It's an esoteric message there, giving you the symbolism of as above, so below. I want you guys to really understand what we're looking at here. And then to the far right in the lower corner, this is you. This is your body. Your brain and your spinal cord are the essence of you. Everything else is just there to keep you alive in your avatar, okay? It's something you want to understand. So this is another good representation of As-above-so-below, some just amazing images. I just came up with the idea about it, and I was able to go online and find enough images to help bring it all together and make it work, okay? So here's an interesting meme I made a few years ago. Hello, I am the universe, and help me say that again. Hello, I am the universe, and it is a pleasure for you to meet yourself. Because you are literally the universe, guys. You're the universe. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Scientists discovered that 1 gram of DNA in the human body can store 700 terabytes of data. This was a few years ago. Professor George Church did this. So what he did was he took an ebook that he wrote and he put it on a computer server. He downloaded that ebook into DNA. Zeros and ones, data, right from a computer onto DNA. They said, oh my God, DNA is a storage device. Come to find out the human body is a giant USB storage device. They go, wow, how much data can we put on this DNA? They replicated the book 80 billion times onto 1 gram of DNA, storing 433 petabytes of data. So now what's happened? They discovered that Microsoft just made the first DNA hard drive just recently. This post was made a while ago, and I've been talking about DNA as a storage medium for what, 3-4 years on Forbidden Knowledge, if you go back down my timeline. Now guess what reality happened? They've actually created what I talked about 4 years ago, a real hard drive based off of DNA that can store unlimited amount of data, which is going to give us the capability to do incredible things technologically, but also understanding that all the information that exists in the entire universe can be stored in one human body from the beginning of time, 13.5 billion years ago, is all capable of being stored in one human body. You're literally a walking library of information from day number 1 of this universe until today. Every single human person walking around has that power coursing and information and data coursing through their veins. So when you get a bit of information, when you get an idea, you say, man, this just popped in my head. No, it's already inside of you. It didn't just pop in there. All the information contained in the entire universe is already inside your body right now. The principle of vibration, nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. We talk about this in cymatics. We talk about this, the fact that frequencies actually literally help jingle matter into existence. So you have frequency and vibration, backed by conscious intent, conscious thought, help create the reality or what we think is reality in the third dimension. So let's just take a look here. Covering, guys, important information here and showing you as above, so below in action, frequency in action, how frequency and vibration literally create what we literally call our reality tunnels, all form from these same formations, these same geometric figures and structures that exist outside the realm of human visual ability, outside our small limited range of eyesight. These forms are all around us. These vibrations and frequencies are all around us, flowing in us, through us, and out of us at all times, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So when people say, when they ask me about zero-point energy and how does it work, well, how are you going to create something that can extract energy from something we can't see? It's not that you can't see it, but it's there. That's the thing. People don't understand. These frequencies and vibrations are there all the time, and all you need is a tool that can collect those frequencies and vibrations, because vibrations and frequencies right now we can take and use them for wind energy. We have shore wave energy now. We have dams that collect energy, things that are moving and vibrating, create energy. And so you take the you take the ambient energy that's already around us and you collect it in a device that can be used for electricity. It's very, very simple, but very complex at the same time. Here's an example from an ancient Sumerian cylinder scroll, very, very famous. It's very, very old. This is a post I made back in 2013, guys, and this has just not been proven to be true reality. At the top here, you can see a field amplifier. You see a Sumerian god, basically, sitting on top of a field amplifier and a magnetic device. Some of it's cut off a little bit because of the frequency at the bottom, but to the left, there's a levitation happening with this stone table where you have a human being, a normal person, you can see by the size, picking up this stone table with one arm. On top of that stone table, it looks like there's a disc there, but it's not. That represents the frequency, the same frequency you see in the below image. And so in back of him, you see two men whistling. They're whistling because that whistling actually has something to do with the harmonics of the field amplifier and the magnetic field that's occurring, and allows those atoms, the magnetic fields, to be reversed, making the table lighter, making whatever that frequency is being aimed at lighter. And this is something that was done by Edward Leedskalnin when I went to the Coral Castle in Miami, Florida. There's a famous place here. So some of you got to go there because, you know, you say, well, I can't get a passport. I don't want to leave the country. Go to Florida, go to Miami, Coral Gables, go to the Coral Castle, where Edward Leedskalnin, a guy who was only 4'5" or 4'6", built a gigantic megalithic structure there from coral, where he cut the coral using ancient cutting techniques from the Egyptians. And this is done in modern times. And he also built this megalithic structure and hoisted up all these megalithic stones by himself, utilizing the same apparatus, which the apparatus you see here in the Sumerian cylinder scroll is in his workshop at the actual Coral Castle, including the device that makes the frequency, and the fact that people who used to sneak up on him to see what he was doing used to hear him always whistling when he was lifting the blocks. Guys, the ancients never make stuff up. This information is rock solid content. And we're just now starting to experiment with a lot of these magnetic frequencies and harmonics right now in cymatics to create the same exact anti-gravity effect. And it's all real. It really does work. I don't want to play this because it's so loud, it'll probably blow your speakers out or your eardrums out, but it's a loud frequency that plays behind this image here. I don't want to really do that because it's too deadly. It's really harsh. But just to give you an idea, cymatic frequencies also can create anti-gravity in technology. The Sumerians were showing us this 8,000 years ago. The principle of polarity. Everything is dual, everything is poles. Everything has a pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes meet, all truths are but half-truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. This is powerful stuff, guys. Powerful stuff. So when you're looking at, you know, people say that my cup is half empty or half full. Not really. Your cup is always full. And the reason why your cup's always full is because we have atmospheric gases that we breathe in. So whatever's in the bottom of the cup, whatever liquid's in the bottom of the cup, above that liquid is our atmospheric gases. So your cup's never empty. Temperature depends on how much atoms move, how much kinetic energy they actually have. So at the bottom of this particular image, you see red particles. Those particles are red because they're vibrating, which is causing friction, and that friction is generating heat and warmth. Towards the top, those particles are probably moving a lot less, and because those particles are moving less, they're not vibrating, they're not causing the same amount of friction as the ones on the bottom, which means that they would appear to be cooler. This has to do with yin and yang. You can't have hot without cold, you can't have cold without hot. This is just something that's built into the actual realm that we're living in, this third dimension. And understanding this allows you to be able to respond to situations better when they occur. Knowing that, knowing this will allow you to realize that if somebody is treating you wrong, if somebody is doing wrong by you, understanding this principle will allow you to handle it mentally and respond to it better versus, completely having a breakdown and not expecting that this would happen. You know, when somebody does something, when you expect something from somebody and it doesn't happen the way that you expected, it's your the energy that you put out is what controls your mental outcome, basically. And this is very, very important because it allows you to have peace inside of your body at all times, no matter what's happening on the outside, no matter what outside forces are pushing. you'll always be able to maintain a certain level of peace inside yourself. You know, so I'm not saying accept bullies and don't stand up for yourself, because that's the opposite of what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is how you handle it. Give you an example. Earlier today, I made a post on Forbidden Knowledge Instagram account, and it was about basically having a partner with you, your better half, that can create a teammate type of a bond and work with you to achieve things, and that you will support that person and that person will support you. Utilizing, creating that meme, I utilize slang terms or worded in a way that basically triggered a response to younger people. Why? Because one of the things I specialize in, how I've gotten so big in terms of how many followers that I have, is because I understand how to reach specific groups of people in specific ways that trigger their mind, that get them to go, I gotta follow this guy because I wanna learn more. Today's post was I was targeting younger people. So I was targeting younger people, so I was speaking from a younger person's lingo, the way that they like to talk. And it got a lot of great positive responses, and it did very, very well. It actually went viral, so it did very well. Some people were commenting in there that I used poor language, and we don't know how to speak, and all this. It's a meme. Now, I responded to one person letting me know, like, look, you're responding to this in a way that's ridiculous, because why? This is targeted towards younger people, not older people. Older people are more set in their ways anyway. I'm trying to reach people that are younger. They're trying to build what I'm talking about, versus people that are already older and are already, kind of on their way out. We don't live that long here in these avatar bodies. But when you see stuff like that, respond to it. I respond to it in a very professional manner. I didn't curse. I didn't get aggressive or nasty. I let them know, like, this post is not for you. It's for somebody else. This is for a different type of person. And this is the way I'm speaking it for these people. Because why? Because that's how I reach these people. You see? And I could have went a whole another way and turned it into a big, giant Instagram argument where people are battling back and forth. I just said my piece and I moved on. But at the same time I said my piece, I didn't allow their derogatory statements, because there were several, to adjust change my physiology. In other words, I didn't get sweaty. The palms didn't get sweaty. I didn't get angry. I responded and I moved on with my life. I didn't allow myself to get all upset and run around talking about it and calling people. Can you believe these people said blah, 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 blah? I really don't care. They came to my page to follow my information. So when you get to this level of understanding, yin and yang, good and bad, evil and good, or whatever you want, light and darkness, however you want to call it, you begin to understand that you can address situations and you can address people, but you can also do it in a way that, because you expected it would happen, your physiology didn't change. You didn't become sick or ill on the inside. You can just address it and move on with your life and keep on moving and let them, figure it out for themselves. So this is powerful stuff. The principle of rhythm. Everything flows in and out. Everything has tides. Everything rises and falls. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm always compensates. This is, wow, esoteric information right here. People always ask me, like, you put out a lot of information, you're talking a lot about these topics, and you're giving us a lot of, knowledge, but what can we do to change this planet? Well, everything I'm giving you is a pendulum swing. I'm giving you enough information that's moving that pendulum in a direction that when that pendulum releases and comes back, it's going to knock away all of these things that are hindering and holding back mankind. All this suppression, all the oppression, all the slavery, mental and both physical, all of these systems that have been put in place to control us, all the lies, everything else, all the people that are putting out information like Neil and everybody else that are putting this information out into the atmosphere for people to digest and download and learn, we're creating a motion of this pendulum, okay? And this pendulum is moving in a direction, taking mankind's consciousness to the next level. And when they reach a pinnacle of that consciousness, where there's enough conscious beings on this planet, we're going to literally erase, when on the backswing, we're going to erase all of these negative things out of our life and our civilizations and restart a brand new way of living. And that's what all this is really about, guys. This is all about the principle of rhythm. And to give you an example of what I'm talking about, I have a short video here. Let's play this video real quick. The pendulum is the consciousness of the people people rising on this planet. Very simple demonstration, but you see how it moves? It moves that eraser out of the way, and it makes way for us to continue to move towards the golden age. And what is this golden age I've been talking about? This is called the Yuga cycles right here. And in the Yuga cycles, this is very, very ancient knowledge, very ancient wisdom here. We're talking about the fact that right now we're in this Tetra Yuga area, okay? We're not back here on this side behind the Bronze Age. Some people think we may be in the Dwapara Yuga. I seriously doubt that we're in the Dwapara Yuga because of where we are technologically and where we are right now consciously on this planet, how fast we're progressing consciously. After further evaluation and talking to some sages, some current day sages, I really believe that we're in this Tetra Yuga area right now, in this silver side right here to the left, right before the golden age. So now all of us here that are learning this information, that are digesting this information, that are doing our study, doing our research, meditating, learning, loving people, trying to figure out ways to help people. That's another big thing I keep forgetting, helping people. People tell me all the time, why do you keep doing all this stuff to help people? You're trying to do too much. No, I'm not trying to do too much. I'm trying to do everything I possibly can. And sometimes I feel like I'm not doing enough, because that is to create the positive karma, not just for me, but also for people on the planet. Karma is not just for you individually. Some people don't realize that karma can have a slingshot effect where it can actually ping and bounce off of others. And I think that karmic, positive karmic realities can happen when you go out there and help a lot of people all the time. You're always finding a way to help people, because what happens is it becomes contagious. And people that you know somebody that you know, people always know somebody you don't know. And it becomes a contagious thing, and it starts to spread like wildfire, almost like a positive virus or a good virus, where now you have people following, duplicating things that you've done. And now all that karma is now happening on positive karma coming back to the people on the planet in ways that we can't even visualize or conceive at this particular moment, but it's all set in motion, okay? And what we want to do is we want to get back to this silver age. We want to get back to this golden age. We're in the silver age. We're in the beginning of the silver age. So we're like in the beginning stages of helping usher mankind back to the golden age. So we're literally the pioneers. I mean, in 5,000 years, people are going to look back and they're going to remember people like us. They're going to remember Neil. They're going to remember PortalToAscension. They're going to remember Disclosure Fest. They're going to remember Conscious Life Expo and Contact in the Desert and all these different seminars and workshops that are happening and going on at all times. They're going to remember all these YouTube, conscious videos and conscious community stuff that kind of started and what got the ball rolling. And we're going to be looked on as pioneers, helping, that help restart this revolution of mankind, help, going back into the golden age, into a high level of thinking. Now, here's the thing I want to point out. As you can see, this is a wheel. This is a cycle. One of the things that's never talked about is the fact that this cycle happens, every 38, 40,000 years, whatever the number is, some ridiculous time span. But nobody ever talks about the fact that we don't have to keep going in this cycle. We don't have to keep making this circle. We don't have to stay in this loop, this time loop, And what's interesting is that right now it's 2019 BCE. I mean, 2019 AD or CE, current era. If you look at 2019 BCE or BC, some people like to call it, you'll discover that the same things happening then in 2019 BC are happening now in 2019 CE. Why is that? Why are we so interlinked on these time scales? I really believe that with the right consciousness and the right understanding of going into the golden age this time, and the right teaching and the right fundamentals behind it, there's a possibility that we can break this time loop, that we can stop this cycle of rise and fall, that we can actually get to a point, Phil talks about this in Metabolism, and I covered it in my book as well, that we can get to a point where this loop is a straight line, and we can maintain that golden age. We can maintain that high level of consciousness, a high level of civilization. We can spread out to other places. We can control impacts of asteroids and comets to our planet. We can harness the energy of our sun. We can create a green lifestyle of living. We can develop a better economy based off of how high you are in society, is based on how good you are at what you do and how good you can help, how much you help others. These are the different types of systems we need to start to put in place. And the only thing it takes to get to this level and maintain this level is to first do one thing. We all have to say no. And what do I mean by that? When You know, right now we have 320 million Americans. Out of those, 190 million are adults. Out of those 190 million adults, we probably have about 145 million that actually have jobs, contributing to the capitalistic society and the system that we're in, this fake monetary fiat money system that we're in. We have to make money because while we're in it, we have to deal with it. But there's going to come a day when 20, 30, 40, 50 million people, whatever the number is, enough people to make an impact, wake up on a Monday morning on an agreed day and say, no, we're not going to go to work. We're not going to pay taxes. We're not making our mortgage payments. We're not making our car payments. We're going to go to the bank and take all of our money out. We're going to cash out all of our investments, and we're not going to do anything. We're not going to buy gas. And when this happens, when 20, 30, 40, 50 million people do this all on the same day, the system literally collapses that week. It's over. The system is over. It's over. You can collapse this system so easily in the power of the people, the power of a collective consciousness. That's the power that we have that we're not utilizing. That's why I tell people, and they get mad at me when I tell them that the situation that we are on this planet is our fault. They go, no, it's the Annunaki. No, it's the Romans. No, it's the government. No, not really. Not really, guys. There's 100 families running this world, controlling 7.5 billion people. 7.5 billion people are being controlled by 13 families. We're talking about 100 plus people running 7.5 billion. That shouldn't happen. That shouldn't even be considered a possibility. But guess what? Every single day we wake up and we breathe and we're walking through this realm, we allow it. We allow it to happen. Our silence and our inaction puts us in full collusion with what's going on in this Yuga cycle and what's hindering us from getting back to the golden age. It's us. Look in the mirror. If you don't have a mirror, take your phone, make a selfie. That's the person that's responsible for all this turmoil that we have on this planet. Us, we are. It's hard to digest it. It's hard to, I didn't tell them to blow these people up in Iraq. I know you didn't tell them to blow the people up in Iraq, but you also didn't do anything about it either. You see, you paid your taxes. You sent that money straight to the government so they can buy bombs to blow up people in another country. We have to understand that we are responsible for our own destinies collectively, and that the only way to truly get to the golden age is unity. Unity. I don't care what race, color, creed you are. Everybody's got to come together to make this happen. And until we make that conscious decision to realize that we're all one human race and we need to come together to help make this happen, we'll never rise to a higher level of civilization. We'll get close, but we'll fall back down again. It's like a kid getting on a bicycle with training wheels. As soon as you take those training wheels off, they start falling down, don't they? They collapse this way, they collapse that way, they collapse this way. You got to put them back on, let them get used to the training wheels first. After they get used to the training wheels for a little while, then you can tell, okay, this person, the wheels are kind of bending up off the ground. They're kind of riding this bike now. We can take this training wheels off. Then they'll fall here, they'll fall there. It's a process that we're in right now. We have to understand that. At the same time, we have to address the process. We got to tell you, like, to your kid, like, if you get on this bike right now, and Daddy, take off the training wheels. You haven't ridden the bike yet. You want to ride the bike without training wheels, but you've never even ridden it with training wheels. If I take them off, you're going to fall. And then okay, the kid goes, babe, so you got to take them off. The kid falls right away, instantly, falls right to the ground. You say, see, you need training wheels. Let me put them back on and help guide you so you can get used to this and get your balance right. This is the process that we're in. Realizing that we need the training wheels. We need to realize that what are our training wheels? That we're all one collective race of people with all different skill sets, knowledge, capabilities, understandings, and different colors, but we're still all one true race, and we need to come together and unify and stand up for ourselves. And by standing up for ourselves, like I tell people all the time, you gotta stand up, don't be bullied, man. Right now we're being bullied. We're literally being bullied into the ground. We have to stand up for ourselves, and we have to do one simple thing. It doesn't require any kind of war. We don't have to go killing anybody. We don't have to go fighting people in the streets. We don't have to go run and storm on White Houses in Area 51, all this crazy stuff. We don't have to have picketing and riots. We don't have to burn down buildings. We don't have to do none of that. We don't have to buy containers of guns and protect ourselves from economic collapse and all this. We have to say no. And when we collectively say no, this whole planet's going to change in 1 week. Watch what I tell you. The principle of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for a law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. And this is powerful. This is something that, we're teaching my kids all the time. And what I would teach my kids was the fact that every action has a reaction. Everything you do is going to have a consequence. Just like in physics, E equals mc squared, and the consequence is usually more powerful than the initial act being put forth, just like in physics as well. And I would tell my kids that every single decision you make and act on is going to have a consequence. It could be a good consequence or it could be a bad consequence. You wake up in the morning, if you're a kid and you have to go to school, or you're an adult and you have to go to work, you have a decision to make. Am I going to get up and go to work? If you say yes and go to work, your consequence is going to be you're going to get paid for that day. It's going to be added to your paycheck. If you wake up and say, no, I'm not going to go to work, your consequence is going to be that day will not be added to your paycheck. It will not even show up in your total balance. So when you get your check, it'll be missing those hours. Very simply put, there's going to be a consequence for that. Now, does that consequence have ripples in time? Yes, because if you have a payment due and you're living paycheck to paycheck, now your paycheck comes in with a lower amount of money on it, and you can't make that payment on that bill. Now that bill becomes late. Now it directly affects your credit. Now maybe potentially, depending on how late you are with that payment, let's say if it's a car payment, they may be coming to repossess that car. Now you lose your car and you can't get to work with that vehicle. It's a whole ripple effect that happens with this cause and effect. That's why I say it's magnified on the back end part. Same thing happens with something positive though. So, you have to evaluate this cause and effect because it's a very, very real principle that really happens. Let's take a look at this here, get a little bit deeper into it. Newton's third law. Formally stated, Newton's third law is for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. This is real physics. This statement means that in every interaction, there's a pair of forces acting on two interacting objects. The size of the forces on the first object equals the size of the force on the second object. So you see, I always like to back up when I'm talking about esoterically and metaphysically with things that we can correlate to ourselves in this third dimensional reality. So we can see that we're talking about things that are really totally the same, just in two different aspects or different perceptions, but have the same exact outcomes. And this is very important for you to understand, okay? Here's a very short video. It's going to give you a visualization of what I'm talking about right here. It's actually not a video, it's the image, static image. So if you look, Newton's third law of motion here. On the left, you see a girl. She's got a basketball. And she's standing, her feet, if you look at the bottom here, let's see if I can get this mouse to work. Okay. Right here on the left, the girl pushes back on the ball, but the friction keeps the girl in place because she's standing in her shoes on the court. And she's shooting this ball towards probably a basketball rim. On the right side, you see the girl, she's on roller skates. Okay, this is what a lot of us do in our lives. We're always on roller skates. We're not grounded. And with the roller skates taking away the friction, the girl pushes on the ball, and the ball pushes back on the girl, and the girl slides backwards. Oh, you ever hear that term, you backsliding? A lot of people use that term a lot, a lot of religious people. It's like the true term. It means you're not grounded properly. And when you get grounded and rooted is when you can make solid decisions in your life, and those decisions will hit their target and not push you back, versus when you're wishy-washy and you're not consistent and you're not focused, and then you go ahead and try to hit a target, and what happens is your consequence is that you slide backwards a lot. You don't make any forward progression, you see? So this is a very simple diagram. Here's a couple of really good screenshot this. I'll give you an idea on how to focus on on this particular law in your life. And then we have the principle of gender. Gender is in everything. Gender has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. And this is really, really powerful information. I think that we get caught up a lot in, a masculine form of thinking of the world, the universe, and even in spirituality and religions, it's always the term used as he. So a lot of religious people will call what they call God, they will call God a he. He can do this and he can do that. When science refers to something, accomplishment, scientific accomplishment, I would say man instead of, why isn't it a woman? It's always a man, it's always more masculine. If you go to different parts of the world where masculine energy has been dominant, like if you go to, for example, Cairo, where I've been, you see that women there have to be completely covered even if you're a tourist, you can't walk around uncovered because you'll be taken to third world prison. You don't want to do that. But I went to the register to buy some oils in Egypt. The lady at the register had to look down and give me my change like this. She couldn't even look me in the face, otherwise she'd be put in prison. And the evidence of this masculine energy dominating this planet is really powerful, because if you begin to step back and look at what's happening on this planet, it's turmoil all created by masculine energy. The wars are primarily masculine decisions. The destruction, the rape, all the inquisitions that happened, like with the Pope's inquisitions that happened, 80 million people being tortured and killed. It's just, the more you look at, going back into Sumerian tablets and looking at what the Annunaki did, a lot more of the masculine decisions were responsible for a lot of the torture and the killing and bad decision making and everything else. And when you bring it into modern time, you just look at the planet, even if, like I said, you go to places that are like Egypt, where everything is the same color. There's no female input whatsoever. Everything in Egypt is brown, like light tan. I mean, there's no color in anything these days. As you can see, that there's no input, no feminine input whatsoever, even on that small scale. But when you look into the creation of the flower of life and how it creates geometric figure, how it emanates life through the vesica piscis, you begin to realize that everything comes out of a womb. When you begin to realize that a lot of the ancient texts talk about the fact that we're living in a matrix, the matrix is considered to be called in ancient times a womb, and everything comes out of the womb. The Mayans talk about the womb of creation as well. All ancient cultures talk about this womb that emanates life, that life comes out of. When you split a lemon in half, when you split a orange in half, all these things resemble the female womb. And when you begin to look at this, you begin to realize that there's got to be a yin and a yang. There's got to be balance here. And right now, our balance is off. It's skewed. And it's not just because of men skewing it. It's also that both races of people, both genders of people have kind of allowed this skew to happen inadvertently, and kind of not allowed it to happen, I'm sorry, accepted that it's happened. And some people are just groups out there that try to fight it, but they're doing it in the wrong way. We have to get our balance back, masculine and feminine, and understand that there's a masculine energy and a feminine energy. We both need each other. And it's got to be balanced properly for us to ascend to a high level of consciousness. It can't be one dominant masculine civilization, because we're always going to be in war and fighting and battling each other, thinking from that side of the mind, versus having a balance with the feminine consciousness, the feminine energy, the Sophia energy, as the ancients called it, and balancing ourselves and working together and building a unified front moving into the future, and understanding that we both need each other to create the future that we're looking to create. And I think those are very, very, very important things to understand, that the life always emanates from a womb, and that's where life literally comes out of. And the masculine energy helps guide and create that life, and there's a part that we have to do in that energetically in that, but that the initial energy of the universe itself that creates life is a feminine energy. And it's powerful, and it's really something to sit back and let marinate for a little while and think about that for a minute, because like I said, look at the planet, look at the state that we're in consciously, look at the wars and the destruction and the slavery and the killing and the rape and everything else you look at. Unfortunately, it's mostly done by men, guys. I mean, it's just a fact. There's no way to get around it. It's history. It's real, true, well-documented history. And women have been pretty much oppressed, suppressed, and everything else. And we have to get the balance. The balance needs to be put back into play. Women are literally the womb of the universe, a part of that womb. And the energy and input that comes from them needs to be taken into consideration on this planet a lot more than what it is currently today, in order for us to be able to get to the next level as a species. Okay? Let's take a look at this Vesica Piscis presentation here real quick. First. Hey guys, Forbidden Knowledge here. I want to talk to you real quick about the Vesica Piscis and the womb of creation. A circle actually has 2 points, point A and point B. These two single points are actually clones of one another, and those 2 points have equal potential, because point A can rotate around point B and point B can rotate around point A. This is one radius that both circles share. The black form in the middle is called the Vesica Piscis. You are literally looking at the womb of the universe. Every single thing that exists emanates from the Vesica Piscis, I mean, all of the vibratory frequencies that create our material world actually emanate from this womb. The energy from the matrix is feminine by nature. The ancients called it the Sophia energy. They already knew the universal energy was actually feminine. Forbidden Knowledge signing off. So that's a post that I made probably a couple years ago. Hey guys, I showed you that one already there. So 7 principles streamline. Mind may be transmuted from state to state, degree to degree, condition to condition, pole to pole, vibration to vibration. True hermetic transmutation is a mental art. So you see that what we're talking about here can be broken down just that simply, so intricate and so deep, but at the same time, we can still simplify it. Screenshot this if you can, because it's very, very powerful. This is going from the 7 principles. The mind may be transmuted from state to state, degree to degree, condition to condition, pole to pole, vibration to vibration. True hermetic transmutation is a mental art. Once you master this, guys, I'm telling you, focus your energy on learning how to master this information that I'm sharing with you today, and watch your life unfold and open up in different ways, whether it's business, whether it's financial, whether it's family, whether it's love, whether it's health, whatever it is, whether it's just manifesting, helping people and assisting people find their way, find their path, assisting homeless, assisting needy, whatever it is that you feel important is important in your lifetime at this moment, utilizing these principles will help you achieve that goal. The human body is a biological avatar that is used and is controlled by frequency and vibration. Let me say it again. The human body is a biological avatar that is controlled by frequency and vibration. I'm going to prove it to you in this very short video that I did a couple years ago.
This technology transformed its ability to move, the result of a project by a group of international scientists who were able to bypass the injured part of the animal's spine.
To decode the brain activity is not really new. To stimulate the spinal cord is not really new either, but the association of both and to make the link between the decoding of the brain and the stimulation of the spinal cord and to make this communication exist is completely new.
If you have an injury of the spinal cord, messages from the brain aren't able to reach beyond it down the nervous system, resulting in paralysis. Scientists created a brain-spinal interface on a monkey with a paralyzed leg, implanting electrodes onto part of the brain that controlled the limb. The activity and information it recorded showed the movement the monkey intended to make and was sent to a computer.
So guys, you see what we're saying here? This, I'm telling you, everything is frequency and vibration. This has proved it even more. This is real peer-reviewed science. Like I said before, I like to always link scientific information, real science that we can get our hands on, touch, feel, smell, and look into and research and grasp onto something solid, and show you the correlation between that and the spiritual realm and how both things really are working together. How physics is not, science is not just science and spirituality is not just spiritually. They're really both integrally linked together. We have to understand that to get to the next level. If we keep them separate, we're never going to get
this technology.
And I'm going to leave this with the last words of Hermes. Go back here. It's all on the presentation. I'm going to put that down here so you can see it. Last words of Hermes Christ Great, or Christ Born, Hermes Trismegistus, however you want to say it. There's many different ways of saying it. Wise words, although written by my decaying hand, remain imperishable through time, imbued with the medicine of immortality by the All-Master. Be unseen and undiscovered by all those who will come and go, wandering the wastelands of life. Be hidden until an older heaven births human beings who are ready and worthy of your wisdom. That's us right now, guys. We're the ones ready and worthy of this wisdom, and that's what we're here learning this information right now in 2019. We are the new human beings that have been birthed under this current sun to digest and read and learn and understand this information. Not only to learn and understand it, but actually to utilize it in our lives and help humanity as well. Okay, so that's what we are with it. I'm going to open up for a couple of questions, and I have to go because I have to take care of some family business. I'm just going to answer a couple of questions here, and trying to see if I can open this back up to a full screen. Let's see here. We'll stop the screen share. Full screen. Okay. Let's see here. I think this might be need Neil to go ahead and start the question and answer. Oh, question and answer. There we go. I'm sorry, I have a few right here. There we go. Okay. Here goes a question by Sarah Ann Dordle. Billy, in your research, have you come across the phenomenon of awakening people receiving clairvoyant downloads of what looks like the Emerald Tablets? Oh man, great question. As well as other hieroglyphs, sacred languages. I wonder if these tablets are reawakening themselves and activating the human DNA, perhaps awakening our inner Hermetic. Any thoughts? That is a great question, Sarah. Since I wrote the book, Compendium of the Emerald Tablets, I really, let's see, answer live. I really, since I wrote the book, Compendium of the Emerald Tablets, I really can tell you that a lot of people have contacted me and have said exactly what you just said, that they're having dreams about the tablets, that they're having languages coming into their heads. I probably have, I don't know, 30 or 40 messages like that now of people contacting me, telling me that since they've gone into this information, they're just seeing geometric shapes and figures and everything else. And it's almost as if these tablets are being activated inside of them. And my answer to them is yes, it is. So you see what's happening is, just like we talk about the fractal holographic universe, information that you put out there becomes a fractal as well. And it goes into people's minds. For example, if you've read the Emerald Tablets or read my book, for example, Compendium of the Emerald Tablets, the information that's written in that book, those tablets have now been fractalized into your brain. The consciousness of the person that originally wrote it, has been now fractalized into your brain. So you've taken on a fractal of the entity or the being that created the information or that wrote down the information, that consciously wrote it down, has now become part of you. And it's going to stay inside of you forever. So we're all now taking on this conscious information. And the way that these tablets are written is so powerful and so incredible that it really activates something inside the human DNA and the mind. The more you read them, and the more you read them, the more insight you get. The higher your mind goes, it's like, it's amazing stuff. Your meditations get deeper. You start to see more geometric shapes and figures and all this incredible stuff. So it's really, really amazing the way it's set up. And I really believe that you're right. It's really like they're awakening inside of us in this current day and age in a way that probably has never been done before. So it's been a great ride. It's been a great thing to see and witness the power of this information and these writings and these principles as well. Somebody here, Jude, says, "Hey, so does that mean we're playing as a pre-existing avatar, like was already in the works to be created at some point, and reincarnation does exist? Does that mean that I can play your reality and you can play mine?" That thing with creation being created through time, it makes sense because there's a verse that says a day to God is 100 years and 1,000 years to God is a day. True. Friends due to the source. Okay. So I see what he's saying. So Jude is basically asking a little bit about these pre-existing avatar bodies. And let me explain that again. So basically, the body, and I did a video about this on Forbidden Knowledge about a year ago. I think I reposted it a few times, where the moment, scientists have recorded now the moment where the sperm enters into the egg and a spark occurs. They're trying to just say the spark is just some chemical mixture. To me, that is literally when your avatar body is now completely, I guess, energized in this realm and has accepted a portion of consciousness, the light being that's you, into itself at the same time. So at the same time that the sperm connects with the nucleus of that egg, a light being is then directly injected into that at that moment of conception. And that becomes your avatar body in a symbiotic relationship that you now move in through this realm in. What Thoth talks about in the Emerald Tablets is the fact that they discovered a way to clone these avatar bodies. And it's also talked about in the Sumerian tablets. If you look at the Atrahasis epic or the Enuma Elish, 7 Tablets of Creation, they themselves talk about creating avatar bodies creating clones and then enhancing them with their DNA to utilize them to get to do their dirty work and everything else. But Thoth talks about it by utilizing these bodies and allows them to live for thousands and thousands of years, many eons, by putting them inside of these rejuvenation chambers. This is why it says in these biblical texts and other texts, like, basically 1,000 years is like a day to God. It's because imagine if you can live for 4 or 5 centuries versus just 60 to 80 years. A day would literally be more like a blink of an eye to you. If you're living for 500 to 1,000 years versus now, a day can be, in some cases, some people say, I'm bored. You know, some people actually say, I'm bored right now. Time is moving extremely, extremely fast. And, you know, and we sense it only when you remove different aspects of lifespans. So if you're living for 10,000 years, you know you're going to live 10,000 years, time is going to move a lot faster. If you're living for a very short period of time, it's going to move a little bit slower. But what happens is today we haven't realized that, and people are actually saying that they're bored when there's so much to do, there's so much to see. You got to stop at some of the roads. You got to stop and enjoy what we have here and help as many people as you can, do whatever you can, because to say that you're bored means that you're not doing anything, and you'll have a very, very short amount of time here in this avatar body in this current day and age. Now, that may change because we just discovered something else, that there is chromosome number 2 in the human body was fused together about 200,000 years ago. Ironically, scientists are now matching up with ancient tablets talking about around that same time is when Enlil, also known as Yahweh in the modern day Bible, literally said that he's going to knock down the Tower of Babel, and he said that his seed will not abide in that forever, his years will be 120. Well, that's what scientists at Harvard discovered, that a person can live to 120 years based on this chromosome fusion and these telomere caps. So they put these telomere caps there in a laboratory somewhere in 200,000 years ago. Modern scientists cannot figure out how they did it, but they did it. It's written down, it's talked about, but nobody can figure out who did it. Well, we know who did it. It's written in Sumerian tablets. It's no mystery who did it. And we did this to shorten our lifespan so that we couldn't live extended amounts of years, because people before them were living for thousands of years and they were getting too smart and learning how to overcome things that we shouldn't be able to overcome, according to these people, and learning how to work together in unison on one common cause and one common goal. And they realized that that was a threat to their system and their power. So they decided to shorten our lifespans. So we're supposed to live very long, and that's changing now that we've discovered how to reverse that process. And now mice in the lab can live 3 times their normal lifespan. So imagine if you can live 3 times your normal lifespan right now, okay? So these are the things that are happening. And we can also then take stem cells now and recreate clone bodies. And because we have DNA hard drives, within the next 50 years, people will transfer their consciousness into a new avatar that looks just like them. And they'll keep on living. You know, so these are some of the golden age technologies that I was talking about that are true in reality, that are coming into fruition right now. All this stuff is really gonna occur, really gonna happen. And the thing that I think that causes us to fall is that because of these technologies and because of this understanding, these spiritual understandings, in the future, in the golden age, at some point, people they get this God mindset or this God mentality. Not that they shouldn't feel that you're like a God, because I believe that we're all gods in retrospect. But I'm talking about they get this this idea that they are themselves in control of everything, and they themselves don't collectively need anybody. And they themselves it becomes more ego-driven God mindset. And that starts to collapse and fall of the golden age, I believe. And that's what causes it to begin to fall back down and start the cycle over again. Here's another question from Jude. Well, let me see. Jude, I know you have a lot of questions. I got to ask one more person here. Answer one more question here before I go. Okay, somebody here, TR, he says, I have 2 questions. One is about the Egyptians in October. I would love to attend. Second is, when do you plan on going to Egypt again? That's a good trip. First question, TR, is the October is going to be October 12th and 13th at Dame Dash Studios, a very, very private setting. There will be some celebrities there, some important people, so it'll be a very private setting. Only 200 people are allowed to go. You can register on forbiddenknowledge.com with the number 4. Again, that's forbiddenknowledge.com. That's my website. And then the second question is going to Egypt again. I wasn't able to go this year. I had been planned for a year. Unfortunately, we had a situation and we did not go this year. Probably won't be till 2021 that we'll be able to go again because of a family situation that I need to stay here for, because the person that's going to be going with me is going to be traveling with child most likely. So 2021 will be the next official Egypt trip and tour, and I'll probably do something jointly with somebody like maybe if I could talk to Robert Shock or some other organizations as well, and set it up just in case something happens. At least if one person can't go, that the whole entire tour continues to go anyway. But the mystery school is going to be very in-depth, a lot deeper than what we went into today. I'm going to be talking about things that you've never heard me talk about before. It's going to be very powerful information. 2 days of intense training and teaching and learning. There'll be a certificate handed out at the end of the course. It'll be 7 hours a day. There'll be entertainment and food provided there as well. And you can register on forbiddenknowledge.com. And I'll just type that right here in the box here. That's where you can go. Enter. Go in. Oh, here it goes. Okay. Send. Let's see. Okay, guys, I gotta go. I have to take care of some important business. We went over a little bit today, but I want to thank Neil. I want to thank everybody for Portal to Ascension for having this. I'm going to be speaking at Portal to Ascension in October, so please go to PortalToAscension.org. Register there to see me in person. Take a photo with me, shake my hand, talk to me in person, ask questions in person, and we will definitely look forward to seeing you in person in October in Irvine, California at Portal to Ascension. Go to PortalToAscension.org. And if you haven't gotten my book yet, by the way, it's an Amazon bestseller. You can get it on Amazon.com. It won't be autographed on Amazon. If you want an autographed copy, you can go to ForbiddenKnowledge.com with the number 4, and I'll be more than happy to send you an autographed copy. Peace and love from Forbidden Knowledge. I really appreciate every single one of you. And thank you for the opportunity for me to talk to you today. And hopefully I help this information help somebody change their life. Have a great one.
All right. Thank you all so much for joining us. Just to let you know really quick, we will be sending the replay out to you by tomorrow, and you have unlimited replay access. And if you want to just stick around for a quick 30 seconds, I'm just going to show you, if you have not used our platform before, how to use it and how to view the replay. So I'm going to share screen here. Firstly, Billy will be at our conference in October with 15 other presenters, including the Hertax, Willie Strieber, Barbara Lamb, Jason Quitt, John D'Souza, Travis Walton. So if you're in or around the Irvine area, or you can make it out there, come out to this epic event. We're going to have musicians, sound healers, and just a good, amazing time. We can fit around 350 people max. So it's a really nice, intimate setting as well. So here's how you're going to log into our website. You have received an email already, hopefully, with your username and password. And once the replay is done and uploaded, all you have to do is log into the back. And you're able to view your replays here. And this is how the back end looks. You can search by speaker. You can see we have Billy Carson. He's done 2 events so far. This is going to be the 3rd one. And then you can search by topic. You can search by letters, whatever you want right here. And for signing up, you actually have access to hundreds of other presentations that we've done in the last 11 years. So not only do you get to see this one, but there'll be an archive of content from some of the most amazing revolutionary minds in the entire planet. So enjoy the platform, use it as a resource that it's designed to be. Okay, thank you all so much, very, very much for being with us. We love you. Stay tuned. We'll be in touch. Thank you. Take care. Good night.